A visit to the Valley of the Sun provides a far different look than most New Yorkers are accustomed to. Let's face it, you just can't find a good cactus at 73rd and 1st. But everything's rosy as far as the Mets are concerned as the road trip continues. On the rail, it's Heath Bell. That was Billy Wagner on the outside, and now they go in reverse, and this is just normal stuff that a pitcher does before a game. David Wright signs before every game, and all this stuff took place indoors, which kind of makes this a split doubleheader, because by the time these guys are ready to go for real just moments from now, they'll be playing outdoors as they have opened the roof here at Chase Field in Phoenix for the Mets and the Diamondbacks, and we've got it for you right here on SNY. Hi again, everyone. I'm Howie Rose, in for the recuperating Gary Cohen, along with Ron Darling. The Mets try to keep this road trip roll continued as they won last night of the opener of this series. One change before the game tonight. Kaz Matsui is no longer a New York Met.
Yeah, a failed experiment in Kaz Matsui, that 3-year deal. You can see they're getting Eli Marrero, 4 home runs so far this year. But Marrero's one of those players that can catch, play first base, play all 3 outfield positions. So they're getting a guy that can play a lot different positions. Matsui, of course, just a second baseman.
And it gives the Mets a little more flexibility in terms of Ramon Castro. Now you could use him as a pinch hitter late in the game if you choose to, and still have Marrero available as an emergency catcher. Well, no emergency at the back end of the Mets starting rotation lately, because L.A. Soler was very good in his last start. That was in L.A. And last night, El Duque was magical.
He was magical. The legend continues. He just was great at changing speeds. He threw some great curveball. He had struggled with his control with the curveball, but now last night really had it working. And L.A. Soler, finally away from Shea Stadium, goes to Dodger Stadium, pitches 7 innings of 1-run ball, and he looked also, just like El Duque, in control of his fastball and his breaking pitches. If both those guys come through, boy, does that make that rotation good for the rest of the season.
Yeah, that's very encouraging for the Mets. And you can certainly say the same about Steve Trachsel's work his last time out. That was over the weekend at Shea against the Giants. Pitched very well, left in position to win, but the bullpen could not hold on. And Trachsel will certainly take a start like the last one in this game tonight.
You know, Trachsel pitched real well, and he did the same thing that Soler and El Duque have been doing, and that is trying to reinvent himself, throw those breaking pitches early in the count, come in with that fastball later. But he'll have some left-handers to contend with this Diamondback outfit.
Trachsel will face Miguel Batista tonight, who goes for the Diamondbacks. Well, with Kaz Matsui gone, there's certainly no question Jose Valentin is the everyday second baseman. He'll talk about it when we get back. It may look like an airplane hangar from the outside, but when you step inside Chase Field here in Phoenix, Arizona, this is every bit a modern baseball facility. So much so that there's architecture you don't normally associate with a ballpark. And the roof is open as Jose Valentin gets ready for his latest performance as the Mets' everyday second baseman, solidified earlier today with the trade of Kaz Matsui. And with Matsui gone, that made Valentin a very, very popular subject among all of the assembled media at the ballpark.
You know, he's got his shot early in the year, and he was doing well. And then, you know, just he was struggling with his bat, and then, you know, I just got a chance to go up there and, you know, help team. And I mean, it's not me that he doesn't help. He wasn't helping team, but I guess, you know, sometimes managers want to go with a better opportunity, like score more runs or get more offense in several, you know, in the lineup. And soon I got my chance, and I started producing. You know, the team was, you know, we started scoring some more runs, and you know, I was getting some hits, clutch hits, and I was playing good. So it's something that I just went out there to try to do my job, try to help the team to win, not to take somebody else's job away from me. You know, it's sad to see a guy, you know, just kind of pretty much lose his job, and then just he got traded now. Hopefully he just kind of regroup and be better players than us. I mean, like I said, I wish the best for him. But now that I see myself that I'm more comfortable in there and look like I'm going to be the guy in there, so it's something that it's great. I mean, it's great, like I said, because I want to play there. I mean, I want to be there every day. So, and now that I got my chance, I would do my best to try to keep it all year round.
He's been an everyday player before. Now, late in his career, he gets another chance, and he's been very, very productive with the bat. So, Monument Park, outside of Chase Field in Phoenix, Arizona, the setting, and we'll come back and get you started next. Last night, the roof was closed here at Chase Field. Tonight, it's open, and the ball generally travels much better on when that roof is open as it is tonight. So who knows what that'll mean for Miguel Batista, who faces this Mets batting order, brought to you by Chevy.
Well, you see Carlos Beltran with that fine average with runners in scoring position. Andy Chavez in place of Cliff Floyd, 3 RBIs in last night's ball game.
So Batista with his first pitch of the game taken low by Reyes. Jose has been in a bit of a slump lately with 7 for his last 38. One good thing for him last night was that he did not have to slide and put pressure on that sore right hand. 2-0.
Oh, it's interesting when you talk about Jose Reyes, it's either he's in a slide or he's red hot. Doesn't it seem like that?
Yeah, there's very little in between offensively with Reyes. And that sinker missed outside, ball 3. So Batista may already feel a little bit squeezed by the home plate ump Gary Cederstrom. But for this converted closer, his 13th start. And it's 3-1 to Reyes.
It was a good number, 6-2. 9 out of his 12 starts, he's given up 3 earned runs or less. Very consistent Batista so far this year.
And Reyes with a leadoff walk. It's not something that Jose does a whole lot of, but it is so important for the Mets to get him on early in a game. And the Diamondbacks defensively brought to you by Ford.
Well, you can see that Chris Snyder is catching no errors in 62 games. He's playing tonight because the catcher Johnny Estrada is 1 for 43 against Steve Trachsel.
So Reyes at first always a threat, and now it's Paul Lo Duca. And instant attention paid to Reyes. He's already, though, Ron, approaching his total for all of last year in walks. See the numbers on Lo Duca, but Reyes has now walked 23 times, 4 less than all of last season. Infield will look for 2, and Batista taking his time before missing inside 1-0.
You know, Howie, I think that's a good stat that he's walking more, but I think you have to counter that stat by seeing how he hits with 2 strikes, because if you're going to go deep into the count and take a lot of pitches, as Reyes is trying to do, he's also got to be able to get some hits with 2 strikes, as Lo Duca can.
Lo Duca's taken 1 pitch. Now Reyes runs. Lo Duca takes a ball, and Reyes is safe at second with his National League leading 24th stolen base of the year.
Well, it's a good throw from Chris Snyder. Gets a good pitch to throw on outside, but Reyes' speed too much for that throw. You know, Reyes, when he's running to second, Howie, he looked back, and you usually teach runners when they're stealing not to look back, but when you have that much speed, you can. You know, you only look back usually when it's a hit and run, but when you're as fast as Reyes, you can take a peek.
So now he's peeking straight into home plate from scoring position. And Lo Duca rips one to left. Manny Acta will wave Reyes home against the arm of Gonzalez, and the Mets have a 1-0 lead. Many of the fans not even settled into their seats yet, and the Mets are on top as Lo Duca delivers his 16th RBI.
Lo Duca was 0 for his last 11 against Batista, but never mind that stat as he comes with his sharp line drive to left field. And the Mets have taken advantage of Luis Gonzalez's arm already in this short series.
Saw it last night. You see it again early on tonight. So 1-0, and here's Beltran. 1-0. What did Beltran ever rip a home run deep to right field last night? So now he's just 1 shy of his home run total from last year. One and one.
Well, I'll tell you, Jose Reyes, when he gets on base, can he generate not only some excitement, but he can generate some runs.
And give LaDuca credit too for taking 2 pitches and letting Jose get down there. That's why he's such an excellent number 2 hitter. Beltran rips another one. Sean Green to the wall. Gone. 3-0 New York. Number 16 for Beltran, as many as he had all last year. A lot of Met representation in the fans who are here at Chase Field. And that's the second night in a row that Beltran has launched one to the same area.
Well, last night he hit a fastball, so the Diamondbacks say, let's go after him with some breaking pitches. Well, that's not working either, as Beltran hit that curveball off Bautista, just a line shot. Took about a second to get out of here, Howie.
So now it's Delgado, and he takes outside, and boy, Beltran is in as good a home run groove and running better, I think, than he has since he's been a Met. 2 totally different things. A lot of it, of course, just has to do with health.
I think a lot of it has to do with health. I think also a lot of it has to do with Carlos Delgado hitting behind him. A friend, a mentor, takes a lot of the pressure off Beltran.
And Delgado coming around. He's on a 5-game hitting streak now, and he's ahead in the count, 2 balls and 1 strike. So Beltran, with that home run, now leads the major leagues among center fielders. 2-2. This road trip is off to a good start, and one of the reasons is the starts the Mets have had in games. Very productive early innings.
Twice in Los Angeles they got on top early, in the first 2 games here in Arizona.
Delgado a little tired of waiting for Bautista. Remember, Miguel Bautista pitched a complete game victory against the Mets on the last homestand just 10 days ago. This one off to a much different start for him. Still 2-2 to Delgado. And Carlos, a left-hand batter, trying to take advantage of some numbers that might have caught your attention before. Left-hand hitters batting at .357 against Miguel Bautista coming into the game. Beltran's driven that even higher. And now the count full. Well, Bob Melvin has seen his team wallop 4 games in a row and off to a bad start tonight. A comebacker, although it necessitated a good play by the pitcher Bautista. 1 away. So David Wright will be next, and Bob Melvin knows that's always a headache. But then again, he's had headaches for a lot of different reasons the last few days, huh?
Yeah, Bob Melvin, you see his career record under 500. Had some so-so teams in Seattle, but he seems to have a nice nucleus here of some veteran players, some new players coming in. They've got a young outfielder named Quinlan that they like, Justin Upton, Stephen Drew, brother of J.D. Drew, is just almost penciled in as shortstop for next year.
Yeah, you could almost make the case, even though this team's on a 4-game losing streak now, that they're ahead of schedule.
Absolutely.
0-1 to Wright, and that goes off the glove of Snyder. You know, I thought it was very interesting, Ron, the point you made last night, which is somewhat contradictory to what Bob Melvin is at least telling the media about his team not going into this slide because of anything related to the Jason Grimsley situation. Wright 1-2 now, but you had an interesting take on it last night.
Yeah, I think that you can say whatever you want to say to the press, but when something like that is so disruptive, especially to an Arizona team, they have one major newspaper here. They used to maybe a half-dozen reporters in the locker room before a game. Now, juxtaposed to the Mets, they're used to having 30, 40 people in the locker room. They're not. And when you have to answer questions about a fallen teammate, anytime you spend away from preparing for the game can hurt you.
2-2 here to Wright, and that ball's hit well deep to center. Burns will not be able to make a clean count, It's a home run over that yellow stripe for David Wright. Burns was set to reel and fire it back in, but once that goes above that yellow line, it's gone, and David Wright delivers the second Mets home run of this inning, and it is 4-0 New York.
Trying to come inside with that fastball. That's a cutter that some pitchers use. They throw it right at the right-handed hitter and break it over the plate. That one broke right over the middle of the plate, and it's just a bomb to center field here. You don't see many home runs there, Howard.
Well, David Wright has hit all of his home runs in the recent past at Shea Stadium. That's his first home run on the road in the last 18 games the Mets have been away from Shea. But it gives them another 4-run inning, and they've had a few of those now on this road trip.
Well, look at this swing from David Wright from the side. See how he generates that power with his legs, leans back, and then as he comes into the ball, that back leg just fires with that bat.
0-2 to Valentine. So David's home run means the Mets have a 4-run inning for the third straight game, and Trachsel's got to be loving that. And Valentine down on strikes. Saw 2 away. First strikeout for Batista.
You know, Howie, when you get off to a start like Batista's gotten off to, it's almost like being stunned in the first inning of a prize fight. You just don't really know where you are sometimes. You try to regroup. I know guys don't do it as much anymore, but I thought on that 0-2 pitch to Valentine, he might come inside with a fastball, try to move Valentine's feet, let the Mets know that, hey, don't get too comfortable up there. I made some mistakes, but I'm going to make sure that you don't get comfortable up at the plate.
0-1 to Chavez, and I guess there was a time not long ago when it wouldn't even be a matter of coming that close. You just put somebody on his behind. Chavez with a rip, and Andy Chavez has the 4th Met hit of the inning. Well, they have smoked some balls against Miguel Batista.
They really have. To make your point, as we see Brian Price going out to mound, the pitching coach. Chavez just, that's why you have the cage in spring training, because you just don't want to get one of your pitchers hit by that. Just a hanging slider right down the middle. Luckily it avoided Batista. That might have been a bad scene. I was saying about, I'm not a big believer that you hit another player just because you stink, like you're not throwing good pitches. I think that's a mistake. But I am for that if the guys are teeing off on you, 4 runs, couple of home runs, bombs, obviously they're very comfortable at the plate. So something has got to be done inside. I'm not saying you have to hit them, but you got to kind of move them off the plate, make their feet move.
Well, a Met hitter might not have been decked, but Batista almost hit the dirt.
Came up with nothing.
Looking for answers, huh?
Yeah.
Well, let's see if he has any against Lasting's Millage. Millage 1 for 4 last night. He's 8 out of his last 19. And of course, Chavez with his speed, always a threat to go. A little more than 1 a start, but this one a crooked number. Saw 2 in a row over to first base. Chavez running, and Millage fouls it back.
We talked about LaDuca before with Jose Reyes taking pitches to allow Reyes to score. As Millage gets more and more time, he'll understand the situation and know that Andy Chavez has a chance to steal a base. Maybe not take 2 strikes, but maybe take 1 strike to give Chavez a chance to steal.
You think any of that aggressiveness has to do, at least in Millage's mind, with hitting 8th? Figuring maybe they'll just walk me if Chavez steals, and then they can go get the pitcher. Chavez running again. Milledge takes this one, and a terrific throw, but not in time. Somehow Chavez was able to get around the tag. That looked like an outstanding throw by Snyder.
See Bob Melvin on top step of that dugout. Chris Snyder with 2 excellent throws. Nice form as he comes out. Tough pitch. That sinker in. Comes out. Great form. Stays low. Throws a strike. And it looks like Chavez reached for the outside part, the center field part of the bag, which made Hudson not able to get him in time. See how he grabs that bag on the center field side? That's how he got that stolen base.
That's a great shot by our camera crew.
Beautiful.
Chavez forced back to second by the look of Batista. And Andy Chavez with a stolen base, his 4th. He is yet to be caught. Well, now, if you're Batista, do you give Milledge anything to hit here at all?
Well, I wouldn't, especially the way the inning's going so far for him.
Snyder sets up away, and that's where Batista goes. It's 2-1.
This is one of those situations that's almost like a pitch around. He'll go after it with some breaking balls off the plate to see if Milledge bites.
Batista's next pitch here in the 1st inning will be his 31st, and it'll be an easy one because it'll be 31 and then 32, and that'll put Milledge on. And you know, maybe that's the mindset Milledge had with Chavez running the first time. Because as it turns out, Lastings won't get anything to hit, and Trachsel will be the 9th man to bat in the inning.
But that doesn't hurt you. That Trachsel is a fine hitter for a pitcher. Usually makes contact, and you've cleared the pitcher in the 1st inning.
All stuff that Milledge will learn as he grows into perhaps a full-time major leaguer a lot sooner than anyone expected. And as he matures, he'll certainly be moving up a little higher in the batting order too.
Yeah, he is not an 8th place hitter. He is now at 21 years old, but he won't be for very long.
Well, now the 9th place hitter is Trachsel. He's 3 out of 20 this year. He's got a chance to give the Mets a huge lead. They already have a 4-0 advantage, and it's 1-0 to Steve.
What a luxury, though, to be able to hit Milledge in the 8th spot. You know, other players that have come up very heralded before Strawberry have been moved into the 3rd or 4th spot straight away. So it's nice that the lineup is so strong for the Mets they can do that.
And the fastball 2-0. And nothing is finding its intended spot for Miguel Batista. It's going to take him at least 35 pitches to get through this 1st inning. That's a strike. 2-1.
You know, we were talking about Bob Melvin, and you know, if you're a ball player and you come to a ballpark, you can smell if a team is hurting or a team is not at their best. And because of this Grimsley thing, well, we'll talk about it later, as Trachsel just weakly breaks his bat, grounds out to Hudson to end the inning.
It's a great start for the Mets. They bat around, and twice they went deep. First it was Beltran with a man on, and then David Wright with a solo home run. Wright's 11th, and before Trachsel throws a pitch, he's got a 4-run lead. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by ChevyOffers.com, the presenting sponsor of Baseball Night in New York. Rico, move your ideas forward with Rico dependability. By Honda, see your Honda dealer and discover the great values now being offered. And Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. So visit geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. Well, Steve Trachsel, if he was taking notes, saw that the ball really does travel pretty well when the roof is open here. So see if Steve can keep it down against this Diamondbacks lineup, brought to you by Rico.
Well, you can see Eric Burns, when he was at Shea Stadium, just lit up the Mets. What a hard-nosed player. Connor Jackson at first base tonight. And Chris Snyder, we've seen already very busy catching for tonight for the Diamondbacks.
So the numbers on Steve. He's 3-2 lifetime against Arizona as you digest his 2006 numbers. Left-handers have hit him well too, as you see down there at 309. 0-1 to Craig Counsell. Counsell in a 1-for-21 slump, although that one hit was in his last time to the plate last night. A 9th inning double. 1-1.
Boy, as a starting pitcher, Howie, you just want to get through this inning quickly. Get your guys back on the bench hitting again. Do not want to let the Diamondbacks up for air.
Well, that one's hit deep to right field. At the wall, Chavez, and that's gone. Craig Counsell's first home run of the year. So they've opened up the roof and maybe the floodgates too. It's 4-1 New York. First of the year, and you have to go back to last September for the last one.
Well, this ball is just up in the strike zone, a fastball right down the middle. Remember, Reggie Jackson used to say to me, he'd say, Reggie, where was that pitch? He goes, it was fence high. I just had to make contact.
Fence high. Burns got jammed, and Valentine throws him out. One away. So let's see about the rest of the Mets defensively, along with Valentine, whose work you just saw. It's brought to you by Geico.
Well, Valentine, 9 starts at second base. This is his 10th, which equals all the games he's ever played at second base. Milledge and Chavez in the outfield with Beltran. I talked to Cliff Floyd on the way to the park today. I asked him, is it difficult to see here with the roof closed? He said almost impossible, because you always, as soon as it goes up, it's gone for like a half a second, and then you find it again. But probably not that problem tonight with the roof open.
Gonzalez takes a curveball. Yeah, we saw Lastings Milledge sort of fight through some of those beams inside the ceiling last night, which now, of course, are pulled back with the roof open. 2-0 to Gonzalez. Good luck trying to find a ball through that stuff.
Kind of unnerving when we were doing the pregame show and he heard a big sound and the sky was opening.
2-1 to Gonzalez. Boy, I'll bet you Luis is glad that the roof is open tonight. He's gone 157 at-bats without a home run. On the outside corner. So it's 2-2. Of course, Gonzalez at one time was not only a power hitter, full count, but one year hit 57 home runs. That was in 2001, the Diamondbacks World Championship season. Those days are long gone for Gonzo. But they remember his blue pit that won that championship. Valentine got a tough play, and he makes it. Good play by Valentine. Showed a little of his natural shortstop arm there, making a good throw across his body.
You know, they're not expecting Jose Valentine to make the outstanding play. Just be very solid at second base. And save for one game in Los Angeles, he really has been.
You know what? Looking at that again, it didn't really come across his body as much as it was a nice strong flip with his momentum taking him away from the bag.
You know, those shortstops have that nice little wrist flip that they like to make that throw with. And
there's Chad Tracy. And it's 1-0. Tracy recently signed a contract extension, so he'll be here in Phoenix for a while. Under the glove of Trachsel. And Steve thought he should have had that. He took a somewhat disgusted sweep at the dirt once that ball rolled by him. And that'll bring out Connor Jackson, the first baseman. Jackson didn't play last night. He's getting most of the time at first base now. Last night, Bob Melvin went with all left-hand hitters, including those who were switch hitters, against El Duque.
Jackson, who was recently drafted just in 2003. Good numbers this year so far. 286 with 35 runs batted in.
Yeah, he's one of those kids you were talking about before, who's part of the nucleus of what the Diamondbacks hope will be a solid team for a long time to come. Van Ugla, Ryan Zimmerman, Prince Fielder, Josh Willingham, all bunched up in terms of RBIs among rookies.
All those guys are expected to do well this year, and they all are. That's very unusual for rookies. A lot of times there's great expectations, but at least 2 or 3 of them fall short.
Reyes, the short way, and that retires the side. Well, the Mets hit a couple of homers in their half, and the first battle Trachsel faced was Craig Counsell, and he launched one. But as we head to the second here in Phoenix, it is 4-1 New York. One to Jose Reyes starting the second inning. Hit hard. Counsell a good play. 1 out. So Reyes, who walked and scored his first time, erased, and Paul Lo Duca will be next. Lo Duca singled home Reyes after Jose had stolen second in the first inning. And Batista deals. Up and away. It's 1-0. One and one. Hits against Batista are nothing new. He's allowed the 6th most hits of all National League pitchers. And Lo Duca making a bid for 7th, but he won't get one as that's run down by Burns for the second out. This game is coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona. Now let's join Chris Cotter in Tempe.
It feels that way. I used my same connections that I used in LA to get those seats, to get these here at Chase. But I'm near the roof here at Chase, and let me tell you something. A lot of people think that it's because of the heat that they open and close the roof, and that's just not the case. It's actually relative humidity. It's the heat index. And earlier today, it was 105 degrees here in Phoenix. It was 101 at game time, but the relative humidity just 9%. So they can open up the roof, and what they do is they sun the field all day long until about right before batting practice, 3 o'clock. Then they close it. They put out these huge air conditioning units. I can actually feel that AC on me right now. They cool the entire inside of the stadium. Then they reopen it about 20 minutes before game time. It only takes 4.5 minutes to completely open it. And I was told that for about half of the home games here in Phoenix, it's open. I tell you what, it's really not that bad out here right now.
Changes the whole atmosphere too, doesn't it?
It really does.
2-2 to Beltran. I mean, there's no escaping the feeling that you're indoors when the roof is closed. Obviously you are, but it just gives you a little bit more of a hemmed-in feeling, and with the roof open and that beautiful blue sky above, it feels like a ball game. 3-2.
You know, I played in the Minnesota Dome. I played in the Astrodome, and do not like playing inside. You just have a strange feeling, especially the one in Minnesota. As Carlos grounds out to second base to end the inning. We'll talk about the Dome later.
And the Mets go in order against Batista in the second. So it'll take a little longer to close that after the game. That's because they were in a hurry. Every week during the offseason, join us for your connection to the New York Jets as they gear up for another season of gangrene football. Jets Nation, Saturdays at 11 only on Sportsnet New York. Sean Green takes inside from Trachsel as we start the home second. Green, another guy along with Gonzalez, whose power has virtually disappeared. A couple of 40-plus home run years. He's got 4.
2 less than Jose Reyes. You know, I mean, when you put it in that perspective, it doesn't make any sense.
He actually hit 4 in one game once.
That was in Milwaukee, wasn't it, Howie? I think it was in Milwaukee. I think that whole year he was something like 9 for 10 over 2 games or something. There's Mike Aldretti on the left. It's the hitting coach for the Diamondbacks.
He pitched against him.
Former teammate. Stanford grad. Smart guy, knows his hitting. He'll be around for a long time. And I think he wants to manage someday. In the minor leagues, he managed in Lancaster. And that's single A ball in the California League. But he'll manage someday. Very bright guy.
So Orlando Hudson will be next. Trachsel again pitching in open air as opposed to what he might have planned on. Although I get the feeling he would have known at some point today they were going to open the roof. Can't imagine it would have been a complete secret. Orlando Hudson takes on the inside corner, but you just didn't like it, did you?
No, I was just thinking to myself that I think Trax would have asked that question at some point before the game, knowing his personality. Yeah, he would have called. They had this hotline that fans can call to find out if the roof's going to be open or not. I bet your Trax was on that today.
He's probably calling in asking for it to be closed.
Yeah.
Double play ball. 1 and 2. 1 to 6 to 3. 2 away.
Well, nice play by Trachsel. 1, being quick in fielding position. See him right in fielding position. And then Valentin pointing to Reyes. Throw it to him, not to me. Easy double play for the Mets. You know, talking about domes, I just played in a couple of domes. Day baseball is where it's at. Open air baseball is where it's at. I love day games. I love the bright sunshine. And playing in domes is just a drag. Although pitching in the Houston Astrodome was about as cavernous as it could ever be for a pitcher. So, you know, you always had that to your advantage, but it just doesn't feel right. You feel like you're playing in a garage or something. It's just not good.
This is Chris Snyder, and you got to figure he's at least familiar with that garage in Houston where the Astros no longer play, because Snyder is from Houston and went to the University of Houston. So he's got Astrodome roots of sorts. 2-1. The ball sounds different when it makes contact with the bat indoors, doesn't it?
It does. It has like a reverberation, an echo that comes off the bat that you won't hear in the open air with the crack of the bat. You know, you just have that. It sounds like it's hitting a wet, rolled up Sporting News. That's what it sounds it's hitting. It just doesn't have that great, you know, crack of the bat sound.
2-2. Did you ever hit with a rolled up Sporting News?
You know, people on the bench always say about pitchers that when they go up, the sound in batting practice sounds like the pitchers are hitting with a rolled up wet Sporting News. That's how it's just like kind of thud. There's no crack when the pitchers are taking batting practice.
That's rip, but foul. Third base umpire Kerwin Danley making the indication.
You know, you just mentioned Kerwin Danley, and I was thinking to myself about last night's game. Did we say one thing about Kerwin Danley? Not at all, right?
Not what I can recall.
Well, I'm saying what a great game he had. I mean, that's when you know a home plate umpire has had a great ball game. Neither side said anything. His strike zone was consistent.
Full count. Sadly, today was the day that Eric Gregg was laid to rest, former Major League umpire who passed away a few days ago after suffering a massive stroke, and all the umpires wearing those black wristbands in his memory. So Snyder draws the 2-out walk.
Well, you heard the frustration from Steve Trachsel. Wanted to go after Chris Snyder there, so he wouldn't clear the pitcher, have Bautista leading off the next inning. Not to be.
Bautista will bat with 2 men away. He's 3 out of 28 this year, and nothing much for his career either. An .095 lifetime hitter.
You know, just one quick word about Eric Gregg. My perspective, you know, he was an umpire when I played, and just prince of a man, just great to talk to, and always had a smile on his face. Loved being out at the ballpark. You know, well documented that he fought weight problems, but I'll tell you, good umpire and a prince of a guy. Nice to be around him.
That's Tim Welke, the crew chief, who is the second base umpire in this game. You just saw sporting that armband. Trachsel, even with the pitcher up, will slow it down. And the breaking ball, and a good one, 0-2.
It's just not fair. You're not supposed to do that to a pitcher, but all bets are off. When a guy is on base, you can pitch a pitcher any way you want. If there's no one on base, more apt to go after him with your fastball.
So he's ahead 0-2. Delgado playing behind the runner Snyder at first. And another curveball, but ball one. I'd imagine, particularly when the roof's open, it might be a little tougher to get your grip on curveballs and perhaps even a changeup when the air is so dry. You know, Pedro Martinez loves pitching in humid weather. He's got such long fingers and gets a great grip. Another hook. It's a breaking ball. They want to check the swing, but nothing doing, according to Jim Reynolds.
Now it's 2-2. You're probably going to see a fastball here from Steve Trachsel. No way he wants to go 3-2 with the pitcher at bat. So probably try to throw something down and away. Let's see what LaDuca calls. Yeah, a little fastball away. Perfect.
The 2-2 pitch on the outside corner, and that takes care of Batista and the Diamondbacks in the second. 2 walks, double play helped out, and now Trachsel strikes out Batista, and it's on to the third. 4-1 New York. Chase Field, located just off the downtown area here in Phoenix, and the Mets ticket marketplace is the easiest and best way to access premium seat locations at Shea. Sign up for your membership now at Mets.com. Members can purchase available prime club and box seats for single games directly from the Mets ticket marketplace. So for more info, visit Mets.com today. That's some Met ticket holders right here at Chase Field. Seen a few of them around the hotel and other areas near the ballpark. People who don't mind the dry heat.
Whatever.
Delgado takes on the inside corner 0-1. 106 degrees. Oh, but it's dry.
It was 111 when I came over here in the bus. 111 degrees. Wow.
1-1. Was that you in the pool half the afternoon?
Yes, I was at the pool. Way too long today.
Well, Delgado has seen plenty of this shift, all right. And it's working when you look at what's happened recently, because he's grounded out to the shortstop, and you'll see Counsell, the shortstop, playing on the right side of second base here. Well, Delgado has grounded to a shortstop who fielded the ball on the right side of the diamond 10 times already this year, all of them since the 24th of April. So these things get around, and now everybody's doing it.
Well, if the hitter up there, Delgado, is not going to change and hit balls to the other way, which Carlos is not going to. If he does, it's probably by accident. Then they're going to continue to get their charts, and after every game they get these charts. Sometimes it's assistant coaches who can't sit on the bench. They go up in the press box and chart the game. And if the charts keep telling you where he's hitting it, they're going to keep playing there.
Delgado hits it deep to left field. Gonzalez and Burns and gone. Carlos Delgado with the Mets' third home run of the game. For Delgado, his 17th home run of the year. Number 386 lifetime, and the Mets have a 5-1 lead.
Well, Bautista's the kind of pitcher who has to stay down in the strike zone. That pitch was supposed to be on the inside corner. It was centered, well, belt high, and Delgado cannot live there with him. Just too dangerous. Slump or no slump.
Shift? What shift? Took it the other way with power, and here's Wright, who went deep before, and it's 0-1. Well, he's been smiling more lately. That extends his hitting streak now to 6. Not a huge streak, but he hit it a long way.
Well, the only shift that's going to get that is going to have to put Luis Gonzalez in that first row.
Chopped by Wright, 1-2.
Well, you can see last night there were a couple of balls hit to that part of the park that Luis Gonzalez ran down, and that one just kept carrying.
Bautista had given up 7 home runs in 74 1/3 innings coming into this game. He's already given up 3, and there are no outs here in the 3rd inning. David Wright delivered the Coors Light cold blast his last time up.
Well, you know, Miguel Bautista is not any different than most pitchers. If he's down in the strike zone, his ball has lots of life. If he's up, it straightens out. And that's been his problem so far in the first 3 innings.
2-2 to Wright. Mets as a team were tied for 3rd in the league with Philadelphia in home runs coming in. They now have 81. But you know, they've been hitting well on this trip, to be sure, but it's not a club that's been right at the top of the National League in terms of runs. They're tied for 7th, 10th in batting average. But the offense has really come alive. And Counsell with a low throw, but a good pick by Connor Jackson. And then Jackson's return throw wound up going into the outfield, so nothing's going right for the D-backs.
Well, it was a nice play by Counsell, though. I mean, sorry, nice play by Connor Jackson. Unusual that he chose to use 2 hands here. Most first basemen just use that big glove and kind of slap at it as they pick it out of the dirt, but Connor Jackson used both hands.
Keith saved you and the rest of your pitchers a few runs with hands like that.
Unbelievable.
Valentine takes the fastball, 0-1. If you're just joining us, Kaz Matsui was traded by the Mets today to the Colorado Rockies for Eli Marrero, who is expected to join the Mets tomorrow. So technically, as Bautista has to wait for something to be picked up, the Mets have 1 less position player available on the bench tonight.
Maybe 1.5 to 2 because of Cliff Floyd and that bad ankle. Willie's working with a smaller bench, but continue to hit like this, he won't need it.
1-1. Yeah, Willie was actually saying before the game that in his perfect world, even though he might have Floyd as a pinch hitter either tonight or tomorrow or Sunday, he'd really like to give him until Tuesday with the off day Monday. Soft liner by Valentine, caught by Hudson. 2 out.
Yeah, I was talking to Cliff Floyd today about it, just asking how he felt, and you know, I asked him if he had the same scenario that I remember having in spring training. Having a sprained ankle. As you can see, Cliff trying to run pretty gingerly on that ankle during the pregame workouts. But he said that he felt pretty good the next day, and then the 3rd day it really hurt. And I remember sprained ankles, that's how usually it works, is that as soon as you sprain it, they get treatment. The next day it doesn't feel too bad because you're walking on it. The night before you're not. Next night you're walking on it, and it's that 3rd day that pain comes back, almost like you re-injured again. And then usually it takes a week.
2-0. Well, Cliff got hurt on Tuesday. This is Friday, so do the math. He's right on schedule.
Yeah.
Chavez singled and stole a base his last time, and it's 2-1. On some news on Xavier Nady as well. Nady has been cleared now to resume baseball activities, as has Gary Cohen, incidentally, since their respective appendectomies. Connor Jackson takes it to the bag, and Nady's going to go down to Florida tomorrow and start getting ready and hopefully rejoin the Mets next week. But Delgado launched a home run to start the 3rd, and the Mets increase their lead to 5-1. Mets with a big early lead as we go to the bottom of the 3rd and the top of the Diamondbacks order. And the first hitter here at Chase Field will be Craig Counsell, who launched a home run to right field to get the Diamondbacks going. And Trachsel hits the outside corner. Counsell and then Burns and Gonzalez for Arizona. Home run by Counsell was his first of the year. 1-1. Trachsel 3-2 lifetime against the Diamondbacks. He's 2-0 in this building. And 1-2 now to Counsell. A good breaking ball from Steve.
Good breaking ball with only a 1.84 ERA, so he enjoys pitching in this ballpark.
2-2 as he missed with a changeup.
Saw those 4 fingers that usually constitute a changeup. Usually, though, the catcher will wiggle them, but probably 4 wiggle might be the split finger, 4 straight might be the changeup for Trachsel.
We saw Steve go into his mouth there. Understandable under the dry conditions. Got him. Good pitch by Trachsel. Perfect spot for that fastball, and Counsell is gone. 2 strikeouts for Steve.
It's almost like Trachsel has this timepiece that he's moving back and forth in front of your eyes, kind of putting you to sleep with those slow curveballs. Surprise Counsell with that fastball.
He'll do that when there's a runner on base too, and really slow the pace down. And he talks about it. You know, he says he has tried to pick it up, and he feels he really has picked up the pace over the course of the last 4 or 5 years. But still, there are times when there are men on against him and everything just seems to slow down.
Well, I think some guys just process things quicker. You know, it's just human nature that as you're standing on the mound right now, your process, as soon as you let the pitch go, you start to process what I'm doing for the next pitch. It takes some guys longer. Trachsel, it takes a little longer to figure out what he wants to do.
Curveball. Chavez, 2 away. So Trachsel gets the first 2 here in the bottom of the 3rd, and Luis Gonzalez will be next. And Trachsel just tried to pick up after El Duque last night and keep a string of successful Met starts alive.
Well, El Duque, I think that's him. It's either him or Cliff Floyd, one or the other, because there he is underneath it because of the bald dome. Great game last night, though. I don't know, I had a big smile on my face. It's nice to see a guy start something and complete it. El Duque just short of getting that shutout, giving a run up in the 9th.
It's almost become obsolete, the complete game. But El Duque really wanted it. Had 105 pitches after the 8th inning. And Rick Peterson with Gonzalez behind 2-0. I talked to Rick today, and Rick had no hesitation whatsoever about sending El Duque out for another inning, because Rick's got a pretty good idea, and it's all based on laboratory work, which breaks down your delivery and gives you an idea about recovery time. You know, he knows what each pitcher's threshold is. 3 balls and no strikes now on Gonzalez, and he was comfortable that Duque had not reached his last night after 8 innings.
Well, you can do that a lot of different ways. How you can do it with just plain numbers. You can also do it by body language. How's the guy look out there? Does he look confident? Does he look like he wants to finish the game?
Ball 4. 3rd walk given up by Trachsel. Well, Rick Peterson thinks the complete game today is vastly overrated, and it has almost vanished into extinction when you look at the last quarter century.
Well, it's like the dinosaurs. They're gone. And I think if you look at last year, complete games in the National League, 2 guys tied, Dontrell Willis and Chris Carpenter. They had 7. I remember when I was first with the Mets, I remember getting a Mel Stottlemyre card, baseball card, and looking at the back of it every year. 28, 31, 32, 29 complete games. And that's what you did in those days, because if you went to the bullpen, you were done, or they thought you might be done.
Line to Millage, and it drops in front of him. So the Diamondbacks aren't done here in the 3rd. They have 2 on now for Connor Jackson.
I think the problem is, though, Howie, I think, is that not that you get complete games or not, it's that pitchers, some pitchers, just feel like 6 or 7 innings is plenty enough work, and that they start looking over their shoulder to the bullpen when it gets to the 6th or 7th inning. That's a problem. I think that any pitcher who's worth anything, Glavine, Martinez, any of those guys that are on this field today, Trachsel, you want to get that ball and you want to get as deep as you can, because every time a starting pitcher gets deep into a game, it only helps your ball club, never ever hurts it.
Here's Jackson, 1-0. One of the things Rick was saying about why there aren't more complete games around baseball is that it's all related to health and ultimately money. Because if you pitch a pitcher a little bit longer than you're comfortable going with him. According to Rick, with all the research they have about guys' recovery times, if you pitch him past the threshold, then you're running the risk of injury. And with all the money guys make now, he says it's remarkable just how much money is being paid out to pitchers on the disabled list, and some who are gone for years at a time. I mean, look at what the Cubs have invested in guys like Kerry Wood, who went on the DL again today, and Mark Pryor.
Yeah, it's just you know, but that circle keeps going round and round.
This should be easy for Beltran. And the Diamondbacks done in the third. 1 hit, a walk, and 2 left. The end of 3. It's 5-1 New York. Mets finishing their second time through their batting order. As they lead 5-1, we go to the fourth, and Millage takes the sinker low inside. 1 ball, no strikes. Millage, Trachsel, and Reyes for the Mets against Miguel Batista. That's about hit the Diamondbacks 5-3. 1-1. So the Lastings will be in there on an everyday basis, at least you would imagine, through the end of this road trip. It's that one to right field. It'll stay in the yard. And Sean Green puts it away. 1 out. And Trachsel will be next.
Well, you know, Howie, we were talking about the complete games, and I was talking about how it's kind of a vicious cycle, because you have guys in minor leagues, all right, they're on pitch counts, very rarely go more than 5 or 6 innings. Why would you expect them to come up here and pitch more than 5 or 6 innings? So it gets in their head from the beginning of their pro life that, hey, listen, if you get us 18 outs, we'll be fine. And then we have a great bullpen. Look at what's invested in the Mets bullpen. I mean, the players they have out there, if you're pitching a Jose Lima or a Jeremy Gonzalez or a John Maine earlier in the season, well, after 6, I'll tell you right now that Aaron Heilman is a lot better choice, or Duaner Sanchez or Billy Wagner is a much better choice as you get deeper into the game. So
let me ask you, is it a mindset, or do you think they have been physically as well as mentally conditioned that they've only got X number of pitches in them on any given night?
I think it's both. I think physically they have not been pushed past a certain limit, and I think psychologically they know that if they get to the 18 outs, 6 innings of good work, a quality kind of start, which happens to be a 4.50 ERA, you know, which is nuts in and of itself,
right? It's
nuts in and itself. I mean, you know, if you had an ERA in the 70s or 80s over 3, you were embarrassed. You really were embarrassed as a starting pitcher.
Full count to Trachsel, and even today, in a higher scoring era, there's nothing all that qualitative about a 4.50 earned run average. You're not going to win the league ERA title with that. Trachsel shoots it the other way, and Sean Green's got it. Now, admittedly, Ron, the most complete games in Mets history took place during a different era, but let's look at that. He started, that's almost half the games he started, Seaver finished.
40-something%. Seaver, we've had many discussions with him. I've had many discussions with him where he said, hey, listen, you know, I threw 140, 150 pitches, whatever it took.
Line by Reyes, grabbed by Green. And Batista showing signs of settling down as he's retired 6 in a row. Middle of the fourth, 5-1 New York. Hey, how does gas for free sound? Every weekday this summer, the WB11 is giving away $50 worth of gas for free. Log on to WB11.com for details on how you could win free gas and avoid traffic tie-ups by watching CommuterCast. And I'll tell you what else, if you feel like driving to Phoenix, you could probably get gas a little cheaper than we're paying in New York. It was about 50 cents a gallon cheaper here than it was in Los Angeles. I don't know about that proposal. I think David's going to wait a little while. But think about that. That's about 50 cents a gallon less here than it is in L.A. Some of these fans probably rented cars here and know all about it. Maybe some of them were in L.A. as well. It's not that far a drive. Delgado to Trachsel, 1 pitch, and Sean Green retired to start the bottom of the fourth.
Well, Carlos put himself in a tough position here, but the good hands, the 360-degree spin, nice play to Trachsel. Put himself in a bad position because he got it on that in-between kind of big hop, and he had to make sure that he had his glove ready, because if that took it, it had taken any kind of a bad bounce, he was by him.
You know why else he's smiling? The remote prospect of his ever catching in an emergency situation is even more remote now
right.
that Eli Marrero's coming. 0-1 to Orlando Hudson. We were speculating earlier this season, after one Met catcher was out of the game and another one had taken a foul tip and looked like he might be shaken up, if Delgado might be pressed into emergency service. And he was praying that it wouldn't happen. And now with Marrero coming, it certainly is less likely to happen. And good luck to Kaz too. Was a good guy, and it just didn't happen for him here. His successor Valentin throws out Hudson, 2 away. And Kaz really is a very pleasant fella, even though there's not a whole lot of common language between Kaz and members of the media who cover the team, but he's always got a smile. He's very polite. You just wish him all the best.
Yeah, and you wish that it would have had a better history here in New York, but never stopped working, even when he was benched these last few games. Always out here early, always doing his work. You know, like you said, Howie, he's a great guy. It just did not work out. Those things happen.
So now Chris Snyder, who walked his first time, and it's 1-0 to the Arizona catcher.
There's been a few stories of people coming into this town, New York City, and just not making it, you know.
Shocking thing about Kaz was that he was a power hitter and a terrific defensive shortstop in Japan, and in North America we saw neither of those traits. In fact, from what we're hearing, the Rockies, who are sending him to Colorado Springs just to play for a little while and get into everyday shape again, are thinking about using him some at shortstop, which of course is his natural position. 3-0 to Snyder, and this has eaten Trachsel up. Second time now with 2 out in the inning and nobody on. He's facing the number 8 hitter. He walked him the first time, and now he's behind him 3-0. And he lost him. Ball 4. To make the case he didn't lose him because he never had him. It's a 4-pitch walk, and he's going to need to walk. Oh, look at Willie.
Yeah. That will make managers cuckoo.
Wow. Right to the jug. And a little water.
You know, Trachsel had gone 64 innings, or the first batter of 64 consecutive innings, without walking the first place hitter until he walked Sean Green in the second this evening.
And now Batista, the pitcher, takes low, and that's 5 in a row out of the strike zone.
And 4 walks for Trachsel. And we talk about this all the time, Howie. When you have a team down, and I believe the Diamondbacks are down in the dumps, the only way they can come back is if you put people on base by walks.
4 walks, the number 8 hitter twice, and the inning extended as the pitcher Batista with a base hit. Only his 4th of the year. And that 2-out walk is even more troubling at both ends now, on the mound and in the dugout.
In the dugout, and see Batista from the school of hitting, of swing, in case you make any contact. So he gets a single to right field. And now Trachsel has to face Counsell, who's already led off the game with a home run.
After the home run, Counsell struck out looking in the 3rd. Well, the Diamondbacks now with 4 hits. Ball 1. And that's becoming a little too frequent for Trachsel, falling behind. So 60 pitches, not yet through the 4th inning. Certainly a very manageable total. And Delgado has it go off his glove and into right field. Snyder scores. And going all the way to 3rd is Batista. And this inning not only is extended, but now the Diamondbacks will bring the tying run to the plate. It's 5-2 New York. That's a base hit and a run batted in for Counsell.
Well, tough play. Counsell hit this ball very sharply down the line. Delgado tried to get a glove on it, couldn't come up with it. Chris Snyder scoring. Bautista to third, and Rick Peterson out to the mound.
Well, Trachsel was clearly annoyed at having walked the number 8 hitter. And then that manifested with his next at-bat as he fell behind the pitcher Bautista. And Bautista and Counsell with back-to-back hits. And Eric Burns will be the batter. And talking about the tying run at the plate, Burns took Trachsel deep twice in New York last week. And he hit 3 home runs in that series against the Mets. So he's a tough customer. Burns batting at .304. And he has made the greatest jump from one year to the next of anybody in the major leagues. On June 1st last year, he was hitting .226. June 1st this year, it was .325. So he's dropped off a little bit. But he is still made a quantum leap from a year ago.
Well, Trachsel trying to keep Counsell close, who can run. Doubt he will run in a 5-2 game with the history that Burns, you just talked about how Burns has against Trachsel. Good for Steve here to concentrate on the hitter.
This should end the inning. Easy play for Valentine. Side retired. So the Diamondbacks settle for 1. The damage after 2 were out. And we head to the 5th. 5-2 Mets. Before we start the 5th inning, it's time for the Aflac trivia question. And other than Orlando El Duque Hernandez, the last pitcher who played for a team and then beat them in the same season. Remember, El Duque was acquired from these Arizona Diamondbacks, so you chew on that while she chews on this. That may take her quite a while. I bet you we have that trivia answer with that thing still. What is that?
Candied apple? I think it's a candied apple, right? Caramel apple?
Yeah. We start the 5th, and La Duca takes ball 1. And I have a feeling we're going to make you very hungry before we get to that Aflac trivia question. It's a subliminal hint to drive everybody to the fridge. La Duca shoots it to left field. And the Mets get the leadoff man on. La Duca with his second hit. So with the Diamondbacks up 5-2, the Mets will try and spread that lead out a little further. And here's the guy that gave them a 3-run lead in the first inning, Carlos Beltran.
How you watched Beltran all last year? Is this just a different player you see this year?
Well, I think he clearly benefits from, as you mentioned before, Delgado behind him. But more importantly, that, you know, Delgado is a marquee guy and someone who is going to create a lot of attention simply by his presence. Reporters go to him, talk to him a lot. And as the first pitch to Beltran is taken low, I think the fact that he's in his second year here, he's familiar with the swarm of media. He's also just not, it's not on his shoulders as much as it was last year with the additions the Mets have made. And I think that's a big part of it. One and one.
You know how you make an excellent point. And that point is on those 80s teams, Keith Hernandez was the sound of that team. He would sit by his locker immediately after the game. All the reporters, after they were done with Davey Johnson, would go straight to Keith Hernandez's locker. He would have to spend 15 to 20 minutes with them. And you know how much that takes off the backs of younger players, that they don't have to deal with that kind of stuff. But Keith took that on his back. He became the spokesman for the team, which stopped guys coming and talking to young pitchers or young infielders or spending any time with them so you could concentrate on your game. Keith was great at that and really helped that 80s teams.
It'll be a 1-2 to Beltran. 2-2. You know, you mentioned Davey Johnson too, and congratulations to Davey. It's great to see him back in, case you missed it, he was hired a couple of days ago by the Washington Nationals as a special assistant to their general manager, Jim Bowden. And on a personal level, as a guy who got to know Davey pretty well in New York, I am thrilled that he's going to be back in circulation. That's hit hard and past Tracy. So now LaDuca will head for third. Gonzalez will play it back in, and digging for second and standing with a double is Carlos Beltran. And the Mets have runners at second and third. Nobody out.
Oh, great hitting. Watch this backdoor slider. If you try to pull that, that's a ground out to second, maybe a double play. He went the other way with that pitch. Just a great piece of hitting. Easy for LaDuca to get to third.
So Batista in all kinds of trouble here. Ryan Price, you saw him a moment ago going to the phone to get the bullpen cranked up. And he's got a lot of heavy lifting to do, starting with Delgado. Three infielders will go to the right side of the diamond again. And that's where Delgado hits. That'll hold LaDuca at third. And Beltran at second. Good play by Jackson, the first baseman. Immediately looking up and freezing LaDuca, not running on contact with nobody out. And no reason to risk running him into an out there with only one out now.
A solo home run for David Wright in his first at bat. You're right, Howie. No reason for LaDuca to be running because you have your RBI men coming up. Okay, Delgado failed to get the run in, but now the infield comes in with David Wright to bat, and this opens up a lot of lanes for David Wright.
He's gone deep in this game. 1-0. They may be working around David here. You certainly would figure they would with Valentin on deck. Even though Jose Valentin's a switch hitter, David Wright's got a chance to really widen the cushion for the Mets here. One and one. And David loves these spots. Kevin Jarvis getting ready for the Diamondbacks. Batista has thrown 86 pitches. And it's 1-2. You figure now they'll just keep working him away.
Well, if they work him away, they're playing right into his hand with 2 strikes because he looks away with 2 strikes. The way to get him out with 2 strikes is you have to pitch him in, down and in. Anything up around the chest level, he's strong enough to be able to break his bat or kind of pop it over this infield. You're going to go in, you got to go down and in.
Out over the plate, and that'll drive home LaDuca. Beltran will be held at third. David Wright with an RBI single, and the Mets are leading 6-2. Well, that certainly wasn't where Batista wanted it. David now with 42 runs batted in. And that's going to necessitate another trip to the mound. This time Brian Price, the pitching coach.
Well, the book is that you have to go in on him. You cannot keep the ball away with 2 strikes. He's just too quick, uses his hands, kind of shortens his stroke up, and he is on fire, David Wright, right now.
Pitch was down a bit, but it certainly had a lot of home plate.
Yeah, you just one, if you're going to throw that pitch, obviously what you want to do is you want to plant that in the dirt and hope he swings over it. But you know, David Wright is, as you can see him and Connor Jackson talking. He's just so mature, not only as a person, but as a player. You know, as a person, I certainly don't know him well enough to know, but I see his actions and how he conducts himself. But as a player, he does things that a 28, 29-year-old player will do. And that's hit well with 2 strikes. He doesn't get crazy. He's not throwing his helmet and his bat around. He knows it's a long season.
And it's only his 2nd full season as Batista looks both ways. David from Virginia. Very, very close relationship with his parents. dad, a policeman, one of 4 brothers. And they are all very close. David went back home, lived at home last winter. 1-0 to Valentine. In fact, David, as he was preparing himself to become a professional player once he reached driving age, he would keep his headlights on high beams in the outfield just to provide as much light as possible so he could take as many ground balls as possible. And that work ethic carried right through to the major leagues. He'll still come out early sometimes, and Sandy Alomar will fire ground balls at him from 15 or 20 feet just to keep him sharp. He's got some kind of work ethic.
I'll tell you, coming from, my dad was a foreman in a machine shop for 40 years, and come from families like that, it really helps, because this game is an up and down kind of game, and when you have that kind of support behind you, those slumps don't seem so bad anymore.
And finally, Valentine got tired of waiting. Bautista certainly appears to be on his last legs here. He's thrown 89 pitches. He only has 1 out in the 5th inning. He's given up 6 runs, 8 hits. Brian Price went out to the mound a moment ago just to buy some more pitches for Jarvis in the bullpen. He's got to be just about ready. So here's the 1-0. 2-0. Miguel Bautista is an interesting guy as well. He's got some very eclectic interests. He's an author. Wrote a project for 5 years and finally published it in Spanish called Through the Eyes of the Law. It's kind of a murder mystery, and he actually went to correctional facilities to investigate the surroundings there, to give him background for the book. 3-0 to Valentine. In fact, they're hoping to release that book in English later on this summer. I don't think Brian Price is calling in to order the book yet. He's got more immediate concerns. Ball 4. And with Price to the phone, if they said he's ready, then that'll be it for Bautista. And here comes Bob Melvin to make it official. So the Mets will have the bases loaded with 1 out. It was the 3rd walk given up by Bautista, who's going to leave the ball game with the Mets leading 6-2 here in the 5th inning. And this call to the bullpen is brought to you by Singular Wireless, raising the bar.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Sterling Mats and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Sterling Mats.
Yeah, I know. It's Affleck trivia question.
It's hot out there. He comes quick.
Man, that duck knows how to find some shade. Well, other than El Duque, the last pitcher to play for a team and beat them in that same season, El Duque did it to the Diamondbacks last night, was Woody Williams. And you got to go back nearly 5 years. For the San Diego Padres. Now our friend the duck can cool off in the pool if he likes, because they do have a swimming pool out in right field. And here's the veteran Kevin Jarvis. He's going to turn 37 years of age in August, and he's been around. They brought him to the Diamondbacks from the minor leagues on the 20th of May after they signed him last winter as a free agent. So here's Chavez, and the first pitch hit in the air to right field. Tagging at 3rd is Beltran. He's going to try it. The throw from Green, safe at home plate. Sacrifice fly for Andy Chavez, and the Mets now have a 7-2 lead. So Chavez didn't waste any time.
Even a breaking pitch on that first pitch. Chavez got it deep enough. Nice throw by Sean Green, but takes a long time to get rid of it, Howie. When you take that long with the speed of Beltran, nice slide. Seems to be the slide du jour now, that slide around the plate and come back and touch it with your hand.
And make sure you don't crack your wrist across the bat that's right in the batter's box or close to it. Millage with a little looper. Council's got a tough play, and he just gets it there. And that retires the side, but the Mets tack on 2 runs. There were 3 hits. They leave 2. Middle of the 5th, it's 7-2, and Bautista's done.
I'm David Lee with your Chevrolet Baseball Night in New York update. Phillies Nationals top of the 7th. Phillies down 7-6. One on for Pat Burrell, and he hits it deep to left field. It hits the pole. That's a 2-run home run. 8-7 Phillies. They're on top right now. On to the Braves and Astros. Bottom of the 5th, 3-2 Houston. Preston Wilson hitting a double down the line to left field, scoring Mike Lamb and Lance Berkman. 5-2 Astros. They go on and win it 7-2. Back to Howie and Ron.
All right, Steve. Mets started play tonight 4.5 ahead of the Phillies, and by overtaking Washington, that game moves to the bottom of the 7th. Both the Mets and Phillies leading, and the Braves having lost in Houston 7-2. Atlanta's now 4 games under 500. They started play just a game ahead of 4th place Washington. So if the Nationals can come back and beat the Phillies, the Nets and the Braves will be tied. And boy, that's something they're not accustomed to even this early in the season in Atlanta. 4th place. So Trachsel with the biggest lead he's had all night, 5 runs. And he misses high to Luis Gonzalez starting the bottom of the 5th inning. Inside 2-0. And even little things like this, being behind 2-0 when you've got a 5-run lead, will start the stomach turning a little bit.
Yeah, you just have to start pumping that first strike in there, taking your chances, because with this kind of lead, you have to remember the mindset of a hitter. Down 7-2. They know they need base runners, so a lot of times they come up there, they're going to take a strike.
Some guys seem to be just more comfortable pitching with big leads than others, don't they?
Yeah, I think that what you have to do, keep in mind, is that I always try to keep the scoreboard out of my head. Whatever it was, you just try to execute your pitches. Of course, with this kind of lead, you're going to be a little more aggressive on that first pitch.
2-2 to Gonzalez, and whoa, that's early 1970s.
Mod Squad.
Yeah. Is Peggy Lipton in the house? Here's the 2-2. Millage. This time he just has some nighttime sky to find that ball through. So Trachsel recovers after falling behind 2-0, and that's the first out. It's a completely different look, and trust us, feel as well than last night when the roof was closed.
Well, they should be proud of this ballpark, though. I mean, talks about you don't like indoor baseball, but you know it does get so hot here that you have to have a roof. But it's nice to see it open.
0-1. We were in here in August, 1999, 2000, somewhere in there, and they had about as violent a thunderstorm as you could imagine, and you could hear the water pounding on top of the roof. And that's saying something when this roof is as high as it is and there's as much noise going on inside the ballpark as there would be. So this thing comes in handy.
I believe they had one a couple of days ago, one of those kind of storms.
Trachsel gets out of the way of a rip by Tracy. Chad Tracy's 3 for 3. Tracy with half of the Diamondbacks' 6 hits.
This is a little Olay by the Matador there by Steve Trachsel as he gets out of the way of that line drive. It's funny, when Trachsel throws his fastball, he gets in great fielding position, but I think that curveball kind of takes him almost towards the first base side. That's what happened there.
Connor Jackson 0 for 2. 1-0. Let's check in again with Chris Carter. Where are you, Chris?
Right now I'm by the Mets dugout, but I heard you guys talking about storms, and actually I was walking around the halls here at Chase Field the other day, and I heard somebody say, you know, we got over an inch at our place just the other day, and I thought, over an inch? Well, they weren't talking about rain, and you know, we're not high enough in elevation to be talking about snow. So I asked the elevator attendant, and she told me sand. They have sandstorms here, and they got one this past week that was so bad it dumped an inch of sand in some areas.
Wow. I've never heard of that. Not, of course, really having any connection to the desert, but that's some serious wind, huh?
Relative humidity, sandstorms. How are you with the blue screen, Chris?
You're getting quite an education from Cotter. What is that, the Arizona state flag? Can't slip anything past us up here, can you? 2-1 to Jackson. An inch of sand.
Wow.
Well, you need that shovel in the driveway for different reasons here that we're accustomed to in the East. We were saying last night that traditionally they've had a lot of rock gardens here in the Phoenix area, which also encompasses Scottsdale and a couple of other towns. But as more people have moved out here, they've put grass lawns down. That's hit well by Jackson. Millage at the wall, and this ballpark was just big enough. So 2 away. And Trachsel got away with one there. Sean Green coming up.
See, that ball is supposed to be outside, drifted back over the inside part of the plate. I think even Steve Trachsel would say he got away with one there with the power hitting Connor Jackson.
So now it's Green, who used to be power hitting Sean Green. Green is walked and grounded to first. Punched foul off the fists. So the count 0-1. It's talking about all the people now who have installed real grass in their lawns here because those things need to be watered.
Irrigated.
Yeah, well, now that drives the humidity up a little bit, so it's not quite as dry in the Phoenix area over the last few years, so say the residents, as it used to be.
Well, the Scottsdale area is a huge place for ball players. A lot of ball players live in this area because of the Cactus League.
Up the middle and on through. Another hard hit ball against Trachsel. That'll stop Tracy at second. And so Steve still needs to get an out to get through this inning to be eligible to win the game with a 5-run lead.
Well, that's hanging curveball there by Steve Trachsel, and a couple of balls almost have got him here as they're hitting the ball straight up the middle off tracks.
Duly noted by Rick Peterson.
The ball just floated on that outside part. Good hitting by Sean Green.
Hudson 0 for 2. And the splitter. 1 ball, no strikes.
It's interesting that Trachsel, his game plan tonight, and I can't wait to talk to him tomorrow about it. A lot of changeup, split fingers, first pitch to hitters. Very soft on the first pitch. I think he thought that the hitters going to be very aggressive swinging at that first pitch. They haven't done it so far tonight. So the Diamondbacks have had a pretty good game plan themselves.
And Trachsel wants a much better ratio of strikes to balls than what you saw there. Almost even. Hudson can hold up. 1-1.
You know, when you put runners on base like this, you just put yourself in a bad position because now you can make one mistake and it could cost you. Get the Diamondbacks right back in the game with all these base runners.
Fouled away, and you know, even though Trachsel pitched very well his last time against the Giants and pitched well enough to keep the Mets in there against Arizona his time before that, and the Mets eventually came back to win, he's still looking for his first win since the 25th of April in San Francisco. He's had 7 starts since then. 4 no decisions and 3 losses.
But like you said, Howie, granted, his last 2 starts, the wins were coughed up by the bullpen. He could be 4-4 right now.
2-2. At this point, he doesn't care how he gets it. He just wants a W.
Well, yeah, the one good thing is we talked about it last night with the complete game by El Duque. Very rested bullpen. So if you had to go to them tonight to get a lot of outs, you're in good position.
Hudson just gets a piece, and it's still 2-2. It's one of the things Rick Peterson was talking about relative to El Duque last night. One of the reasons he had no second thoughts about sending Duque out there is that the bullpen was well rested. He had Pedro Feliciano throwing. But with 105 after 8, an off day coming up Monday, he wanted to stay with El Duque. This will be Trachsel's 82nd pitch. And it's going to take at least an 83rd to get through this inning. So again, he'll rub up a ball and go to his mouth to try and keep the moisture necessary to find the grip. You really need those shades in here at night. Who is he, Ian Hunter? If there's a Matva Hoople contest in town, I want tickets.
Or Corey Hart.
Little check swing, and that'll get Trachsel out of the inning. Side retired. 2 hits, 2 left. And at the end of 5. Trachsel now eligible for the win. Nightfall in Phoenix, and the Mets with a 7-2 lead. We're headed to the 6th inning. The Mets bats are going again. For the 3rd straight game, the Mets have a 4-run inning. Tonight it was the 1st. And they can cool off out there in the swimming pool that is built into Chase Field. Our Hyundai in-game box score gives you an idea of how the Mets have built their lead. 3 long balls, Ron.
Yeah, boy, Beltran with another one on a hanging curveball, and Wright with a monster shot over the yellow line in center field. It's nice to see Delgado getting that home run swing again also.
So we start the 6th, and Trachsel takes a strike. Remember now, it's time for the Best of Barbados vacation getaway. So if the Mets hit a home run here in the 6th inning, one grand prize winner will win an all expense paid trip to the Almond Beach Village Resort in Barbados. To enter or to see if you are a contestant, visit sny.tv/Barbados today. Trachsel and then Reyes and Loduca here in the 6th inning. Low, 2-1. Well, they're having fun so far.
Father teaching his son how to wear a cap, right?
If not his hair.
How to bend it just right.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you like to see. Wearing a cap the way it's supposed to be worn. And then again, there are the newfangled ways. 1 away. The 2006 New York Mets official merchandise catalog is now available, offering a great selection of items for every Mets fan. For your copy, call 800-PRO-TEAM. Go into the catalog, get your cap, and wear it however you want. They got them for ladies, they got them for men, they've got them for kids. And it's low to Reyes, 1-0. You like that newfangled helmet? Because now you've got the vents in there. That's ripped foul.
How long are you up at the plate? A minute and a half, 2 minutes.
Reyes, sometimes 10 seconds.
That's right. Well, the Mets have introduced some black to their uniform, so that blue and black, of course, matches the black undershirt of Jose Reyes.
That's a strike. It's 1-2. Of course, nowadays everybody's got to wear a helmet that features a flap on their front side. Nothing on the back side of the helmet for Reyes there. There are some who will wear it double flap, and boy, do they ever get teased. Orlando Hudson is one.
The switch hitters. I remember Willie McGee for the Cardinals used to always do it. Vince Coleman. And I played with Mookie Wilson, who had the grandfather clause. He didn't have to wear a flap. He just had the regular helmet with no flaps.
1-2 pitch. Jackson thought about making a play for it, so was moving back into position as Hudson made that throw, and that became a little less of a routine play than it should have, and that's because Jackson ventured a little too far.
Jackson's thinking about it. By that time, he knows he's got a bust to get back to that first base bag. And Orlando Hudson is about as sure-handed as gets. Kind of threw it to him on the run.
So 2 away. Reyes now 0 for 3, and here's LaDuca, who's had a good night. LaDuca singled in a run in the first inning, 1 of 2 hits. Where is Chris Cotter?
Well, Howie and Ron, I'm here checking out Paul LaDuca at the plate, and you know he's a big horse racing fan. He actually spends much of his off season at the stables, owns a couple of horses, and he takes one deep to left field. And he's actually, I talked to him about the Belmont Stakes tomorrow and who he liked, and he said he liked Sun River. What a nice finish at the Peter Pan. For me, I like Bob and John, who won the Wood Memorial, guys.
Everybody's an expert. Cotter will be running to the windows. 7-2 New York. Mets with a 7-2 lead here in Art Deco, Arizona. And for the latest on the Mets and the most up-to-date sports news, log on to our website, sny.tv. All right, Ron, Ask the Booth, brought to you tonight by Dodge. Uh-oh. Hey, remember who he played with.
Well, I can't mention any of those, so I'll just go somewhere else. When I was with the A's, they had a relief pitcher. No one's really going to know his name out there. He's just up for a short time as Chris Snyder with a bomb to left field. First pitch hitting off Steve Trachsel.
7-3 New York. Third home run for Chris Snyder. And the second given up in this game by Trachsel. So the Diamondbacks cut it to 7-3, and they'll go to their bench now with a pitcher spot due up.
Well, this is a little hanging slider. See, that stays right in the middle of the plate. Nothing goes any further than those hanging sliders right over the middle.
So Jeff DeVannen will bat for Kevin Jarvis, who retired all 5 batters that he faced. Well, you got to finish that story at Oakland. Who had the goofiest?
Well, it was one of the relief pitchers that loved Ron Guidry. Ron Guidry used to have his own room at Yankee Stadium where he played the drums. So before the games would start, he would go back in the weight room and play his drums, and he was awful. Oh, just terrible. You'd have to listen to that for 45 seconds to a minute as he got himself ready for battle. But I remember Dave Stewart was the most unusual for me. Most pitchers get to the ballpark, what, a couple hours in the National League, maybe an hour and a half in the American League. 7 o'clock game in Oakland. He would get there at 6:30. He'd put his clothes on, be out there at 20 of, and he would start warming up. No stretching, no nothing. And 20-game winner every year.
Why would an American League pitcher get there later? Because he doesn't have to take BP?
Yeah, he doesn't have to take BP or any of that stuff. So he would get there. I mean, it would always be the Stu watch. And guys used to bet on the over and under. What time he'd come? Would it be 6:29, 6:31?
Trachsel's now allowed 8 hits. That's as many as the Mets have. Valentin's got to hurry. Got him. Good play, Jose Valentin. 1 away.
You know, that you would think that for a former shortstop, that would be the toughest play for him, because you're usually running towards first base, or at least working your way there. Here he's working against the grain away from first base, but he makes one nice move there, kind of circles around it, so he gets a little momentum working towards first base, makes that throw easier.
Well, they had the one rough game defensively in Los Angeles on Tuesday night. Other than that, which was a very rough game for him, he's been making all the plays at second base. Craig Counsell 1-0. You're going to like what you've seen from Valentine at second base, and the Mets certainly have. Punctuated by today's trade of Kaz Matsui to the Colorado Rockies for Eli Marrero, who is expected to join the Mets tomorrow, which will give Willie a little more flexibility. 1-1. Pedro Feliciano was up last night, and he's getting ready again tonight. Two and one. Well, tomorrow night, Alay Soler will pitch for the Mets, coming off of his first big league win, and Brandon Unbeaten Webb, with the league's best ERA at 2.14 and 8 wins, will pitch for Arizona. Make sure to join us tomorrow night here on SNY.
There's Brandon Webb. He's the Johnny Petraglia of pitching. He just throws those bowling balls up there called a sinker. Everyone will tell you, just hitting his ball, it's like hitting a hard rock. It just splinters bats left and right. And as Soler had a great start at Dodger Stadium.
That's hit well to right. Chavez into the corner, and that is a foul ball. So Counsell making a bid. He has 1 home run in this game, and that's just a long strike.
Well, again, the same pitch up in the strike zone. Trachsel's had a very difficult time finding that bottom part of the strike zone. You know, Rick Peterson, you talked about him today. You talked with him today. That's what he preaches. He has that string in spring training. They want the pitchers to be at the knees. Trachsel's either been in the dirt for ball 1 or belt high.
Here's the payoff pitch. Ball 4. Well, Eric Burns, a right-hand hitter, is coming up now, but after him, you've got 2 left-handed bats, and it very well could be that Burns will be Trachsel's last batter. Rick Peterson rolling all that over in his mind right now as he goes to check on Feliciano, see if he's ready.
Well, 2 out of the 3 at bats to Eric Burns. Steve Trachsel has got him to hit it on the ground, looking for that right here.
5 walks for Trachsel. That's higher than his average ratio for this season. On the outside corner, he'd walked 23 in 61 2/3 innings coming in. So Trachsel may be facing his last hitter here, with Feliciano throwing hard in the bullpen, ahead of Eric Burns, who's 0 for 3. Fastball missed. 1 ball, 1 strike. Steve is getting up around 100 pitches too. That last one was number 96. So Feliciano appears to be just about ready. Two and 1. That almost nicked Burns, who was moving into it.
Well, Burns really, you see where he's going. His body ends up over the plate.
Think of guys like Jeff Bagwell in particular, who would dive in, and Biggio, who would dive in. Both of those guys in Houston hit with a lot of pitches. Biggio more than anyone. So it's 2 and 1 on Burns. And the breaking ball, did he go around? No, says first base ump Jim Reynolds. 3 and 1.
Well, this looks like a swing to me, but as a former pitcher, everything looks like a swing to me. But Burns looked like he did hold back. Very strong is Eric Burns.
So Trachsel's got to be careful here. Burns can hit it a long way. And it's lifted foul. Now is there room for Delgado? Nope. So 3 and 2. Trachsel now is at 100 pitches. And this next one will be interesting for a lot of reasons. For one, it could conceivably be his last, even if he gets Burns with the left-handers coming up. He's only struck out 2 tonight. Well, we'll see now whether Bob Melvin puts Counsell in motion here, even though they're down 4 runs. It'd be something of a risk. And a quick throw. Counsell back in, and Trachsel thinking the same way.
Trying to get a read to see if Counsell has a big lead over there. When a guy goes in head first, that tells you that he's thinking about it. If he went back standing up, you would have to assume that he's not getting that big lead.
So it'll be a payoff pitch. Counsell is running, and it's ball 4. And that may well be the last pitch Trachsel throws. Runners at first and second, 1 out. The Mets are up 7-3, and yep, here comes Willie. And with Feliciano, the left-hander, ready, the sign goes out, and that will end Trachsel's work for the evening. So this call to the bullpen is brought to you by Singular Wireless, raising the bar. Not quite a full moon, but Steve Trachsel just could not find his command tonight, walking 6.
Well, you can see he's shaking his head because he had trouble keeping the ball down. For Trachsel to be effective, he's got to keep that ball down. Here, curveball up in the strike zone, thigh high. What happens? A bullet up the middle. But when he threw it down, see this ball? That's almost down on the ground. That makes an easy out. Trachsel did before, and then again. This ball belt high to Chris Snyder. Home run to left field for Trachsel, and he knows it. He's shaking his head. Steve Trachsel's a veteran, knows what to do or how to pitch out there. Just sometimes it just doesn't work. Luckily, he's in a game where the Mets have had their hitting shoes on, so he's got a nice lead. He knows he's not supposed to walk people, but he walked 6. He knows he's supposed to keep the ball down, but he just couldn't. Sometimes that happens.
So now it's Feliciano. And Pedro's had a few days between starts. Pitched 2/3 of an inning, gave up a couple of hits, struck a batter out on Monday. The first game of this road trip in L.A. And he's got some heavy lifting to do with the Mets leading 7-3. With runners at first and second, 1 out, it's Gonzalez and then Tracy. So Feliciano on for one reason, to get left-hand hitters out. And the breaking ball for strike 1. Now the lefties have hit .250 against Pedro. And interestingly, right-hand hitters have hit just a .156 against him. So he's gone opposite of form. To the right side, and Valentin with a good play, but Delgado drops the low throw, and the bases are loaded. Well, Valentin had the right idea, just get 1 out, but the off-balance throw was low, and Delgado couldn't hold it.
Well, Valentin showed some great range, but that's a throw that Carlos Delgado should handle. You know, yes, it is down. Maybe it did catch a little bit of dirt. But no, I don't even think that hit the dirt. I think he just did not catch it.
I would agree with you. It should be an error on the first baseman. We'll wait for the official score. And it is E3, error on Delgado. So now Tracy 3 for 3, the tying run at the plate with 1 out. Breaking ball, and he held off 1-0. Tracy 3 singles and 3 trips against Trachsel. Well, 1-0. And the fastball down. It's 2-0. Tracy with 10 home runs on the year. And Feliciano with a big 2-0 pitch on the way. Council's at third. Burns at second. Gonzalez at first with one out. And the 2-1. That'll get at least one home. Millage will throw to third. Reyes cuts it off. Sacrifice fly for Tracy. No advance by Burns or Gonzalez, and the Met lead now 7-4.
Well, good job by Chad Tracy. You see Millage, you know, just make the catch and throw to third, hit your cutoff man. Good play.
Watch David Wright at third. He wanted to make sure that Millage saw him and that's where the throw is coming. So here's Connor Jackson 0 for 3. 1-0, and by rights Feliciano should be out of this inning already. Of course, with the bases loaded, the whole pitch selection may be a little different, so it's not fair to go from one to the next, but you get the idea. Good curveball there, 1-1. David almost looked like an air traffic controller at third, lining up Millage's throw.
You know, just doing those little things that, boy, veteran players do. Look, he's directing the outfield now. Millage telling him to push back.
Broken bat, tough play. Beltran was deep and he can't come up with it. Chavez backs him up. 1 run in. And now runners at second and third as Gonzalez is held at third. Jackson to second. 7-5 New York. And the tying runs are in scoring position.
Well, kind of jammed Connor Jackson, but we talked about his power, strong enough to get that to the outfield. Beltran sensed that he had to make that play. Burns scores, of course, from second easily. But I think Beltran sensed that he wanted to make a great play in that and end that inning. And once he got too overly extended, could never get in front of that.
He was playing pretty deep against Connor Jackson and got a little betwixt and between as he pursued it. Haven't heard scoring yet, but I would imagine 1-1. Single for Jackson, error on Beltran. And they should give Jackson an RBI. So second and third for Green, and he pops the breaking ball up. Wright hoping for a play, but he runs out of room. Just a strike. It's 0-1. So the Mets have made 2 errors here in this inning. Beltran and Delgado, the ones who committed the errors. Trachsel hoping he can hold on to the lead. Delgado will take it himself. And that retires the side. The Diamondbacks send 8 men to the plate and score 3 runs. So it's on to the 7th. 7-5 New York.
David Lee with your Chevrolet Baseball Night in New York update. A's Yankees top of the 4th. A's up 3-1 with a runner on second and 1 out. Antonio Perez taking the big unit deep to left. A 2-run homer for Perez. A's up 5-1. They would add another and go on to get the win by a final of 6-5. Red Sox, Rangers, bottom of the 8th, score tied at 3, 2 on, no outs. Mike Lowell, the sac fly to right. Manny Ramirez tagging up at third and shows off his speed, and he scores. Red Sox take the lead 4-3. They go on to get the win by the same score. Howie and Ron, back to you.
All right, we head to the 7th inning, and this one far from over. The Diamondbacks pulling to within 2, and Bob Melvin with a double switch. As Jeff Devannon, who pinch hit, stays in the game. He'll play right field and bat 9th. And the new pitcher batting 6th is Brandon Metters, making his 21st appearance of the year, and he's pitched well.
He has pitched well. Sinker slider pitcher. Appeared in 27 games last year for the Diamondbacks.
He had some back problems this spring and started the year on the disabled list. Fastball on the inside corner, 1-1. So Brandon Metters will face Beltran, Delgado, and Wright here in the 7th inning. Every one of those 3 hitters coming up have hit home runs in this game. 2-1. So Trachsel done. And again, he leaves in position to win, but that'll be up to the bullpen. Although it was a rough, uneven night for Trachsel. 2-2 to Beltran. As we mentioned before, he's looking for his first win since the 25th of April. 5 1/3 tonight, 7 hits, 5 runs, 3 earned, 6 walks, and 2 strikeouts, and he allowed 2 home runs. And Beltran deep to right field. Carlos Beltran, his 2nd home run of the game. 8-5 New York. I'll tell you what, Beltran is getting into one of these home run grooves that remind you of what he did for Houston in the playoffs 2 years ago. He's not just hitting them, he's launching them.
I mean, this is not the easiest part to hit home runs in. I know that the roof is open, but he is getting his pitch, Howie, right now, and he is not missing it. 2 home runs and a great piece of hitting going the other way for a double.
Delgado, strike 1. So 4 home runs in the game for New York.
Just another fastball up in the strike zone. A lot of those this evening. And that's a bomb. That's 15 rows up. Left, right, center.
1-1. So Beltran doing something that no one else had done against Brandon Metters coming in, and that's hit a home run. He had gone 22 innings without giving up a gopher ball. 1-2 to Delgado.
Well, you can see where this pitch is. Kind of splits the plate. Belt high. Straight fastball.
Goodbye.
Rub up a new one.
That's a fair ball and a nice play by Jackson. And Metters covering. Good play, Connor Jackson. 1 out.
And this play is not made, but with the shift, the first baseman can move closer to the line, as Connor Jackson did. That ball usually is a ball that is never made. Dives for it. Nice play. Nice toss to the pitcher. But any other hitter, that's a double down the line.
Helps him being right-handed also, that glove along the line. Just think of what Keith Hernandez did all those years left-handed. David Wright takes a slider. 1-0.
He wouldn't have to dive for that.
Really? I think he just called the truck to say, tell Ronnie to say I wouldn't have had to dive for that. 1-0 to Wright. That's good. You and Keith are on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
And we'll get to enjoy that in Philadelphia for 3 games when Ron and Keith will be in the booth. That kid never saw either one of you play, but he's watching David Wright right now, and you get a foul ball from David Wright. That ball will be worth something someday. More to him than anyone else. 1-2.
I remember David hit a home run recently at Shea, and a young girl caught the ball, and cell phones were blaring. I caught David Wright's home run ball.
One of 11 that he's hit this year, including 1 tonight. 2-2. Ball 3. Here we go again. David falling behind, climbing out. Staying alive again. Still full. David Wright's up. That ball boy gets to know the home plate umpire pretty well. The way he wastes good pitches. This kid creates a path between the dugout and home plate. So they start depleting another batch.
Well, he's locked in right now. You watch him when the pitches are off the plate, takes them very casually. The pitch is not his. He has the ability to foul it off until he gets a pitch he likes.
Like that one. Sean Green over towards the line. Or pardon me, DeVannon. And 2 away. DeVannon taking over for Sean Green, and that double switch we showed you before. The Jeep upcoming schedule shows you 5 more on this road trip. And you'll want to watch tomorrow night for sure with Brandon Webb pitching for the Diamondbacks against L.A. Soler. And you'll certainly want to see Sunday, because that's Pedro Martinez against Ramon Ortiz. Glavin, El Duque, and Trachsel will pitch the games in Philadelphia. And Valentin takes a strike. And the Phillies in extra innings with the Nationals. Mets 4.5 up on second place Philadelphia at the start of play today. 1-1.
You know, you had a little slip there, Howie. You never have any slips, but it seems strange to me that you would have a double switch with, you got to consider him one of your best hitters, yeah. Sean Green, in a close game. I'm all for double switching if it works, but I don't know, to take out your best hitter or one of your best hitters seems strange to me.
7th best average in the National League, Sean Green. But Valentin pops up, and the Mets are done. Beltran is second long ball of the night. Time to stretch in the Valley of the Sun. If you've been paying casual attention to the Diamondbacks this year, yes, this place used to be known as Bank One Ballpark. Now it is Chase Field. And we're glad you're with us as we hit the midnight hour on the East Coast. Thanks for staying up late with us, assuming it's late for you. Mets with an 8-5 lead. And now Willie's got this game where he wants it, because when the Mets have a lead and you get to the 7th inning, generally that's when you find Aaron Heilman and Duaner Sanchez, and if things go well, Billy Wagner. And everybody's in pretty good shape right now in terms of rest. Heilman pitched an inning 2 nights ago. Sanchez as well. Neither pitched last night. And the bullpen at the back end now very well rested. Orlando Hudson 0-1.
You know what's great about the Mets bullpen, though, when you think about it, is how different all of them throw. From Billy Wagner throwing 100 miles an hour to Heilman, who's 3/4, Sanchez straight over the top, Feliciano from the side, Bradford from the dirt.
Inside 1-1.
That's a real strength when you get late in the game, because it doesn't give any team just one look. See a lot of bullpens, you have what? Sinker, slider, split finger. Almost every right-hander that comes in throws the same thing. Well, not this staff for the Mets.
I do not think you can overestimate the importance of the depth that the Mets have built in their bullpen, particularly in conjunction with their starting pitchers. Not a lot of 7-inning guys right now in the rotation. At least not yet.
Well, other than Soler, who is not a kid by any means. Good change up here from Heilman. You've got a staff that's a veteran staff that you're going to have to take care of during the course of the season. Can't push beyond their limits too much.
1-2 to Hudson. That'll slice out of play.
So
Hudson, Snyder, and DeVannon coming up. Hudson hanging in. So you got the fastball there. And the count 1-2. You saw the reading on the gun there. 95. That's probably a little fast.
He's more of a 92, 93 mile an hour guy, but I'm going to steal that gun after the game.
And make a comeback, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, look, I'm throwing 90. Hudson down the line. Fair ball. Millage surrounds it. And the throw to Reyes. So the Diamondbacks get the leadoff man on here in the 7th inning. Good play in left field, too, by Millich again.
Well, like we talk about Jose Reyes, Orlando Hudson has to hit like that. Anything away, he's got to kind of slap towards the left field lines, able to keep that fair. And nice, like you said, Millich cutting that down because Hudson has great speed. He doesn't get to that ball, it might be a triple.
So it's a 3-run lead here at 8-5. But again, the Diamondbacks put the leadoff man on. That's the second straight inning they've done that, albeit a home run last time. High to Snyder, 1-0. 4 times in 7 innings, the first man has reached base for Arizona. And he went around, according to Jim Reynolds. So 1-1 to Snyder.
Well, good changeup from Heilman. Chris Snyder definitely went around there. You just tell by his body language, just hoping that he got a call. Didn't, though, from Jim Reynolds.
Snyder's walked twice and homered in this game. So Aaron Heilman in his 27th game. One and two, pardon me. So he's on a pace to get into over 70 games this year.
Sanchez on a pace to get into over 80 games this year. Wagner 80 games. Got to make sure that they're eating their Cheerios and doing their workouts.
Now the 1-2, and Snyder hangs in. Talk about workouts. These kids had one tonight. Hudson double. You see that double flap earpiece as the switch hitter we talked about before. Up the middle. Hudson will score easily. And it is 8-6 New York. A double and a single to start the home 7th. So Snyder's been on base all 4 times.
Well, Heilman was trying to get him on that yo-yo, fastball, changeup, fastball, changeup. Tried to spot that fastball away. And Chris Snyder just having an excellent night, like you said, Howard. A couple of walks, a home run, and a RBI single.
So now it's DeVannen for his second at-bat. Grounded to second his first time as a pinch hitter. 1-0. DeVannen's dad, Jerry, is a former major league ball player. You didn't face him, right? That's before you?
A little bit before me, yeah.
Jerry DeVannen played with San Diego, St. Louis, Baltimore, California, and Houston. And the 1-0, maybe a double play. That's one. There's two. And Heilman gets a big double play, quieting things down here in the bottom of the 7th. Now it's 2 out, nobody on.
This was not that easy. DeVannen runs pretty well. He got this off the end of the bat, but he watched Valentine with a quick toss and Reyes with that laser-like arm onto first for the double play.
Good job by Valentine making that quick flip. So back to the top of the order now, and Craig Counsell. And he's had a good night. Delgado can't get it, foul ball. If it was a fair ball, he'd probably have come up with it.
Well, it's hard to tell there because it depends on where it goes over the first base bag, but when it's that foul, usually it's past the right side of the bag.
So just a strike to Counsell with 2 out, nobody on. And Beltran with time and space, and that retires the side. So a run on 2 hits. The lead's just not safe. A lot of runs tonight. Can we order one of those up here? That looks awfully good. That's with an 8-6 lead. Trying to make sure that doesn't melt away as we go to the 8th inning. Andy Chavez with a hard bunt. Now the race is on, and Indy just is out. Just out at first base. Sliding into first base is not usually recommended, but that's not a bad play there.
He has to slide in, because if he doesn't, it's going to be a collision at first base between Chavez and the pitcher. Just trying to get his foot in there. And good call by Jim Reynolds. Metters just got his foot before Andy Chavez.
0-1 to Millage, who's 0 for 2 with a walk.
See the toss, Metters hustling. Just gets his foot on that bag just before Chavez got there.
Millage to center. Back goes Burns. It's about a 400-foot out for Lasting's Millage. But 5 Mets in a row have gone down. Quickly 2 men away. And as you look at the Toyota National League scoreboard, the Cubs slowed down the Reds. But the Cardinals, with their win, have gone back into first place in the National League Central. The Braves have lost. Dodgers, behind Brad Penny, who's now 7-1, shut out the Rockies. Phillies and Nationals tied at the bottom of the 10th. Ryan Howard, his 22nd home run. And good for Cammy, the former Met. Mike Cameron, his 2nd home run as a Padre. They lead the Marlins, and the Pirates lead the Giants. So Julio Franco will bat for Heilman now with 2 out, nobody on. Heilman an inning, 2 hits and a run allowed.
And just showing you the problem with Willie's bench. You usually wouldn't see Julio Franco bat with 2 outs and no one on in this situation, but Floyd down and Matsui gone, waiting for Marrero.
So the Mets, realistically, without Floyd, are down to just Woodward and Castro. And Castro is your backup catcher, and certainly it would be a last resort for Willie to use him. Well, Julio's done a great job as a pinch hitter, and he may have another one. Yep. A broken bat flare, but they all count. Julio Franco as a pinch hitter is now 9 for 26.
Jeez.
And that's going to get you a lot of smiles, but it's not like he gets a lot of starts. He's only made 3 starts at first base. It's hard to keep him fresh, but he'll take it.
That just tells you how mentally disciplined he is. You're right, Howie. Last year he was assured of getting at least a start a week against the left-handed starters, but not this year. That's not the case.
Reyes takes a fastball for a strike. Yeah, he was in a pretty strict platoon with Adam LaRoche in Atlanta. That's pulled into right field. Now, can Franco still go first to third?
Oh, yes, he can.
Turn it on. Reyes to second, the key play there. And Jose Reyes using those wheels, getting into second base with a 2-out double.
Well, it's a nice swing here. A little breaking ball from Metters, hangs out in the middle of the plate. You can get Reyes out in the breaking balls. You see Franco cruising into third. And Reyes just at a little different speed than Franco as he's running around the bases.
About 20 years different. So Reyes sliding a couple of times tonight with no apparent effects to that sore wrist. So LaDuca will try and expand that lead again. 8-6 New York, each side with 11 hits.
Well, LaDuca has a couple singles to left field off Bautista tonight, but when he gets in RBI situations, if you try to pitch him away, he'll shoot something to the right side.
On the outside corner, 1-1. A little bit of taste great less filling going on in the stands with the Met contingent here at Chase Field, taunting the Diamondback fans. So 1-1. The Vannon. And that retires the side. So 2 hits, 2 left. Middle of the 8th inning, 8-6 New York. Told you about Met fans walking those nice wide concourses here at Chase Field, and that's what we expect the Mets' new ballpark will have as well. Concourses at least this wide, which will give you an opportunity to watch the game from anywhere you stroll. Something to look forward to, due to open in 2009. Now the most advanced traffic information is just a click away with WB11.com's Commuter Cast. Get real-time traffic updates on your computer every weekday afternoon at 4. Log on to WB11.com for Commuter Cast. So Duaner Sanchez will become the 4th pitcher used in this game by Willie Randolph, who is looking to patch it together with his bullpen behind Steve Trachsel, who went 5 1/3.
Well, Duaner Sanchez, perfect record, perfect through the first part of the season, went through a rough stretch, gave up a run in his last outing in Dodger Stadium.
And he gets the slider over for a strike. 0-1. Burns and then Gonzalez and Tracy. One and 1 to Burns. He's seen Trachsel before. He's 0-3 against him, 0 for 3, but he kind of leans in, doesn't he?
Well, that's what's going to happen when you lean in. That pitch is going to try to chase you inside, which that fastball did from Sanchez.
Good breaking ball, 1-2.
Well, Burns really hurt the Mets at Chase Stadium on fastballs up and out over the plate. And Trachsel and the rest of the pitchers now have given him a steady diet of breaking balls in this game.
So it'll be a 1-2. And Burns, with a defensive 2-strike swing, stays alive. Sanchez in relief of Heilman, who worked an inning and gave up 2 hits and a run. Feliciano was the first man out behind Trachsel. So here's the 1-2. That evens the count. Boy, I think the Dodgers wish they still had Sanchez with Eric Gagne going back on the DL.
We're going to have to use some young guys, throw them into the fire like Jonathan Broxton. And
did he go around to that slider? They'll ask it first, and Jim Reynolds says no. So full count. We were talking before.
Close play. It's hard to see when you don't see it from the side, but hitter's going to get the benefit of the doubt if it's close.
We're talking before, Ron, about why the pitch count has become such a fabric for pitchers now in the bullpen. Well, Sanchez throws ball 4. Diamondbacks have the leadoff man on, and they'll get the tying run to the plate in Gonzalez. There's a lot of money on the disabled list just today in Gagne and Kerry Wood.
Well, it's just, you know, the Kerry Wood and Mark Pryor thing is just hard to believe. Kerry Wood, they've always accused him of having the wrong mechanics. That's why he hurts his arm. But Mark Pryor is supposed to have the perfect mechanics, and he's always out.
Well, now Gonzalez 0 for 3 with a walk.
You know, how we talked about pitch counts before. I think the problem happens is that these pitchers in the minor leagues are allowed to pitch 140, 150 innings. And you ask yourself, why do they get hurt their first couple of years? Well, they go to pitching 400 innings in 2 years. You know, 200 and 200. It's a big jump.
High to Gonzalez, 1-0.
You know, I was really lucky that when I was in the minor leagues, I pitched a lot of innings, 150, 160, 170 innings. So I was prepared when I got to the big leagues. But I'll tell you, I ran out of gas my rookie year when I got to about the 180 mark.
Gonzalez shoots it the other way and deep, but Milledge pitch has room right in front of the wall. And Gonzalez now gone 161 at-bats since his last home run on the 20th of April. One away. Now Chad Tracy, who's had a good night with 3 for 3 and a sac fly.
You like this guy, Howie? I think this guy's a good young hitter.
The Diamondbacks love him.
Short stroke.
Remember last year when they had Troy Gloss, they had Tracy playing first base. 1 ball, no strikes. And now that they've moved Gloss to Toronto, Tracy is at third. They signed him to an extension, and it looks like he's going to be there for quite some time.
One of those hitters that uses the whole field.
Way inside, and that'll move the runner up. Burns to second, and a big turn there. And that takes the force off and puts the runner in scoring position on the wild pitch by Sanchez.
Well, no chance. LaDuca's sitting outside. This ball almost hits Tracy in the inside corner. He's probably been, as he's gone through some difficult times, Sanchez's only problem is that he tends to overthrow, tends to get out of sync, so he gets behind the hitters. He's got lots of weapons. He's got a curveball, fastball he throws 93, parachute change that he can strike out hitters on, but none of those things work unless you get ahead of the hitters.
Again, with all the talk that we've done tonight about pitch counts and durability, well, Sanchez and Heilmann throwing more than they ever have at the big league level, at least the way it projects right now. Not as effective as they were earlier. And now it's 3-0 to Tracy. That's why this all really demands precise monitoring. There's a monitor. Fastball 3-1. Ball 4. 2 walks in the inning now by Sanchez. And Sanchez started out just lights out for the Mets this year. That's now 19 walks in 37 innings. And for a late inning reliever, that's just too many. That's too high a ratio.
You know, Howie, on the 2-0 pitch to Chad Tracy, he threw a curveball to make it 3-0. Threw a fastball for a strike, but then really threw a fastball off the strike zone. Almost looked like he was pitching around Tracy to get to the right-handed Connor Jackson, which is very unusual. Try to face the winning run.
And then the pitcher's spot behind him, and a big swing by Jackson. 0-1.
Well, he's looking for a fastball, got a fastball, but good spot by Sanchez. See the sinking action on that ball, trying to get himself a ground ball.
So it's 0-1. There's the ground ball, but it's foul. So 0-2. Boy, would he love to get a ground ball double play right here. Tony Clark on deck to pinch hit. He's a switch hitter with a lot of power.
Well, 10 double play groundouts. He was tied for a while with Jeremy Bonderman of the Tigers, who's a starter. Twice as many innings.
Excellent ratio. The 0-2. Well, it went away, and LaDuca keeps it in front of him. Jackson drove in a run in the 6th inning single. It was a ball that got past Beltran and moved everybody up a base. Each team with 11 hits. Sanchez battling here in the 8th inning. Has already walked 2. And now the 1-2. Got him. Big strikeout for Sanchez, but he's not through it yet. 2 men away, and power hitting Tony Clark will be next. Well, fans in 2006, Hyundai, the Mets, and Sportsnet New York are teaming up to strike out cancer. For every K the Mets pitching staff registers, Hyundai, the Mets, and Sportsnet New York will donate $25 to the Hope and Heroes Children's Cancer Fund. Aggressive Tony Clark behind in the count 0-1 as he takes the fastball. It's been a struggle for Tony this year. On the interstate, 5 homers and 77 at bats, all left-handed. Pounded foul, 0-2. You know, Ronnie, Tony Clark was with the Mets a couple of years ago, and it seemed as though every time he was at the plate, he was behind 0-2. Yeah. He just put himself in a hole time and time again. And once again, 0-2. Sanchez deals up and in. That'll get his attention. 92-mile-an-hour fastball.
Well, nothing wrong with this pitch. Trying to get Clark off this 3 fastballs in a row now. Get him off the plate and come back with a changeup.
Here it is, but it's outside. The outfield is very deep against Tony Clark. Got him! Sanchez strikes out Clark, and that retires the side. 2 walks, but they're left on base. Scoreless 8 for Sanchez. We head to the 9th inning here in Phoenix. 8-6 New York.
I'm David Lee with your Chevrolet Baseball Night in New York update. Nationals Phillies, bottom of the 7th. Nationals down 8-7, 1 on for Brandon Harris. Harris singles to right center. Brian Schneider comes in to score, tied at 8. That's where we are right now in the 12th. Bad news for Cubs fans. Kerry Wood is back on the 15-day DL because of soreness in his shoulder. Wood says he's not injured. This is just stiffness from arthroscopic surgery he had last August. Back to Howie and Ron.
Okay, we go to the 9th inning. It is 8-6 New York, and the struggling Jose Valverde, the deposed closer, at least for now, of the Diamondbacks, will take over the pitching and face Carlos Beltran, and Valverde misses upstairs 1-0. Big night for Beltran, and you wouldn't want to look at those numbers either if you were Valverde, but we got to show him. That earned run average at 5.16. He had been scored upon 5 straight times as the closer. Mets coming from behind to beat him last week. 1 ball and 1 strike on Carlos Beltran.
See Rick Peterson talking to Dwayne Sanchez. You know, when a guy comes over, he's a new guy to your team, it's an ongoing process for Rick Peterson to try to educate himself how this guy is in certain situations, how he reacts.
1-2 to Beltran. Pedro carried the conversation a little bit further. Talking mechanics, obviously. Well, 1-2. Beltran fouls it back.
That's interesting what Pedro's trying to do. You see what he's trying to say? That front elbow, you almost put it out there. That becomes like your pointer. And you try to keep that elbow up, and it points towards the home plate. And as your body comes over that front elbow, it's natural to throw a strike. I think he's trying to talk about, though, his changeup. He's getting underneath it. I need to get on top of it.
2-2.
Who better to talk to, huh? You can either go to Pedro. If you're a left-hander, you can go to Tom Glavine.
And Rick's always going to be around the conversation, too. So the 2-2 to Beltran is up high. How much did Mel talk? I don't remember him talking near as much as Rick Peterson, Mel Stottlemyre were talking about.
Mel was a different kind of pitching coach than Rick Peterson.
Payoff pitch to Beltran. Up the middle, and Carlos Beltran has a 4-hit night. Single, double, and 2 homers. And Delgado will be next. Hey, Mets fans always traveling and missing games? Well, watch Mets games live online whenever you're away from New York, exclusively from MLB.tv. Mets.com has more live games than anyone else. Mets.com, where baseball is always on.
You know, I was talking about Mel Stottlemyre. Rick Peterson has a lot of minutia, a lot of statistical data. That certainly wasn't the kind of pitching coach that Mel Stottlemyre was. Maybe he became like that with the Yankees. I don't know. But I know the great thing for us with Mel, we're all young pitchers, is that he was just so encouraging. He would always catch us in the bullpen. When we had our bullpen sessions, he would catch us and let us know if our stuff was sinking, was it breaking, how hard we were throwing. I don't know many pitching coaches who do that anymore. He used to use one of those big, huge gloves that the catchers use for knuckleball pitchers. Just a big, big, huge one. And we'd throw to him. And when in between innings, he would not talk as much about mechanics or this or that. He would be very encouraging, let you know that he's on your side, and just having him there when you're a young pitcher. Because, you know, Davey sometimes could be a little harder on pitchers than Mel was.
Delgado launches one to right. Back at the wall. In the drink. A home run for Delgado. Into the swimming pool in right center field. His second home run of the game. The 5th home run hit by the Mets tonight. And now New York opens up a 10-6 lead. His first 2 home run game as a Met, and his first in almost 2 years. A lot of muscles flexing in that dugout tonight.
I don't know where the guys are having lunch every day, but they got to go back there again tomorrow.
Well, we talked before the game about how the ball travels better in this ballpark when the roof is open, as it is tonight. The Mets have certainly taken advantage. 7 home runs have been hit tonight.
Well, as opposed to Beltran's home runs, sometimes there are line drives. This is just a moonshot. That ball was up there forever. That was like a Ray Guy punt, Howie.
Dave Jennings may take offense. 1-1. It's going to get wet. There is water back there, right?
Yes.
Big cut by David. 1-2. Dear Diary.
I'm good. I was good today.
And the struggles for Valverde continue. Not on a closer's role. And that got the catcher, Chris Snyder. Hey, by the way, speaking of closers, now what is Willie doing? Because Billy Wagner was online to pitch the 9th inning. It's no longer a save situation. Billy's still up.
Well, Billy Wagner threw a couple days ago, so he's gotten some work.
He hasn't had a whole lot lately, though.
No, but he could use an inning.
So 1-2 to right. Orlando Hudson double clutch, but still got it there in time. 1 away. Well, they're having all kinds of fun in the Met dugout. That's what 5 home runs will do.
Well, I really feel that this Mets team, their lineup, if you talk to them and they told you the truth, they would tell you, I think, that they are just waiting for this lineup to click. You know, they haven't had all cylinders going yet so far, and I think that by the end of the season, with Reyes and that speed up front, with the tutorial of Julio Franco, and just up and down that lineup, the power, right side, left side, they're going to do some real damage towards the end of the season.
Well, they've certainly done some tonight, as well as last night. 17 runs now Willie has seen from his team in the first 2 games of this series. 1-1 to Valentine. The Mets have been hitting on this road trip for the most part. Won the first game in LA 4-1, scored 5 and lost the second game 8-5, and then 9 runs Wednesday, 7 last night, and 10 tonight.
Boy, Howie, isn't it strange as you look at the bench again? You get to talk a lot of smack when you hit 5 home runs in a night.
With the roof open, Woody looks like he wants in. Valentine launches one, but it's hooking foul. That one was hit about as long as any of the others, but he just got out in front.
It's strange how this game works. Jose Valentine got to spring training late because of the World Baseball Classic. Really struggled to the end of spring training, the beginning of the season. Anderson Hernandez gets hurt. Matsui's back at second base. Matsui now traded. Valentine's got the job.
Craig Counsell takes it off the lip. 2 away. So here's our AOL game summary. For the 3rd straight game, the Mets with a 4-run inning. Tonight it was the first, and they kept tacking on, mostly thanks to the home run ball. And Trachsel, even though that line is nothing fancy, is still in position to win for the first time since late April. You want a better high-speed internet? You belong at AOL. And now Chavez.
You know, Howie, the Mets have really been scoring on the home run ball. That's 33. The last 33 games out of the 41, they've hit a home run. 58 total in those 41 games. Just amazing.
Mets started today tied for 3rd in the league in home runs. That may change by tomorrow once everybody's checked in for the night. Mets now have 83 home runs. Milwaukee was 2nd with 83 coming in today, and Cincinnati had 85. Well, the Mets creeping up towards the top of that category. 1-2 to Chavez. Mets remain out here in the desert to face the Diamondbacks tomorrow. North Fork Bank pregame live begins at 9 p.m. Mets and Diamondbacks tomorrow only on Sportsnet New York. Wonder if the roof will be open tomorrow night. Counsell against a speedy runner, and that bobble took the play away. Would have been close anyway, but once Counsell failed to find the handle immediately, that pretty much ensured Chavez would reach, and we'll see how they score it.
Well, it came up a little bit, hit him in the heel of the glove. Can't make any mistakes when Chavez is running. Counsell did. Chavez on base.
Error 6. Well, Bob Melvin is seeing this season start to unravel, and that may sound like a bit much, but you know, remember, they're in the middle of a little unrest right now in the aftermath of the Jason Grimsley human growth hormone episode.
It's pretty funny you mentioned that. All the players have been saying that, you know, it's no big deal, not concerned with that. Also, Bob Melvin said that. But after the game last night, he said, you know, we can't be using Jason Grimsley as a crutch. So he addressed it. So it just tells you that it plays a role. I don't know how significant that role is.
Well, you were on that last night, having experience in a clubhouse, knowing what distracts a team and what doesn't. And Bob Melvin may be trying to put a positive spin on it, but the only spinning being done are the Diamondbacks unraveling. And that's, you know, still a first place ball club technically in the National League West. But if the Mets hold on, Arizona will only be 7 games over 500. And this would be their 5th consecutive loss, with certainly a lot of pitching questions. Valverde right in the middle of that.
Well, the one thing they're lucky to have, and not many teams have that, Brandon Webb here, is to have that ace. I mean, that ace guy who can go out and it changes all the fortunes of your team. You see his record 8-0. He literally can take the team on his back, throw 8, 7, 8, 9 shutout innings, and get your team a positive game.
And with Webb being a sinker baller, you think that will keep the roof open tomorrow night?
It might keep it open tomorrow night because he does not give up home runs.
Diamondbacks' recent bubble has surely burst. Nothing doing. Pitch out, hoping to nail Chavez, but he wasn't going anywhere. 1-1 to Millage.
You know, Valverde is looking over, throwing over, 4-run lead. I think what happens is that when you start to give up runs and you're going through a bad stretch, you get kind of gun shy out there. You don't even want to throw the ball to the plate sometimes. Just do anything to put off having to throw another pitch.
You know what's really unfortunate, Ron, is that Valverde, and you talked earlier about how there's not a whole big swarm of press covering the Diamondbacks. When he started blowing games as the closer, he refused to talk to the press. Your teammates can't like that. Never mind the media.
What press? 3 guys? I mean,
yeah, well, exactly.
It makes no sense. You know, the best way to deal, I think the most therapeutic way to deal with it for a pitcher is you address it, you try to explain it, you stand up like a man and take it, and usually those slumps go away quicker.
Well, the Mets didn't go away quickly in the 9th because they scored 2 on the home run by Delgado. 2 home runs for Carlos Delgado. And so it's now 10-6. Well, Billy Wagner was up. The Mets expanded their lead. Billy comes on with a 4-run lead, so it's not a save situation as he misses inside. And Billy alluded after the game against the Yankees, where they let the 4-run lead in the 9th inning get away, that he's got to adjust his mindset a bit when it's a 4-run lead rather than a 3-run lead. And there's been a lot of discussion with Billy and Willie Randolph and Rick Peterson, really just getting acquainted about every last detail. Pounded past right and into left field. And Orlando Hudson will be the batter. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. Visit geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And Jeep, the new 7-passenger Jeep Commando. It's your world. Take command. So Hudson aboard. And Chris Snyder takes a strike.
Chris Snyder got a Yahtzee night working, Howie. 2 at-bats, 2 runs, 2 hits, 2 bases batted in, 2 bases on balls.
Orlando Hudson with that single to start the inning. And the slider. So 1-2. Chavez turning on the Jets. Nice play, Andy Chavez. He gets a good jump.
Well, you can't teach speed. There's very few right fielders that would have made that catch look so easy. Might have gotten to it, might have to slide and make a catch, but Chavez makes it into a can of corn.
And with 1 out, it'll be Jeff DeVannen. Chavez contributing with sacrifice fly, a base hit, stolen base. A strike to DeVannen. 97-mile-an-hour fastball, according to this gun. Billy swears he never looks when they put the speed up on the board. He says he has no idea from pitch to pitch about the exact speed.
He doesn't have to look. It's the guy who throws 88. He's the guy that has to look. Oh, man, I almost made 90.
Well, he's quickly ahead here. No balls, 2 strikes on DeVannen, batting for the 3rd time. He's 0 for 2. The runner goes no matter. Pitch fouled back. Mets not paying Hudson a whole lot of mind anyway with his 4-run lead. 1 out in the 9th inning. Well, coming up after the game on Sports New York, we'll have post-game reaction from Phoenix. And Jim Leyritz admitting his amphetamine use. Big unit. Randy Johnson having a rough night. Outside 1-2. Amphetamines, very often referred to as greenies, also now part of drug testing. They have been outlawed from big league clubhouses. And the 1-2, they've got him picked off. Out at first base. Hudson was leaning and starting to move, and Billy Wagner nails him. Just what Bob Melvin wanted, right? Down 4 runs in the 9th inning.
This is where, if you're Hudson, you don't even want to run. You would rather run into the Mets dugout. You don't even want to run into your dugout. Watch what Delgado does. He does this very well. See that right foot? He puts it right in front of the bag. There's nowhere to go. Hudson completely fooled. Wagner keeping an eye on him. Second out for the Mets.
1-2, and put it in the books. Devannon down on strikes, and the Mets have completed the first half of this 10-game road trip splendidly. They have taken the first 2 from the Diamondbacks. Delgado hit 2 home runs. So did Beltran. And the Mets with another prolific night offensively. 7 runs last night, 10 tonight, and the Mets win it 10-6.
Boy, Howie, the first 5 batters in the Mets lineup, 11 of the 13 hits. Delgado and Beltran 6 for 10 tonight, 4 home runs and a double.
So a lot of offense here at Chase Field. Especially good to see from Delgado because he's now coming around. Beltran is locked in, so is Wright.
Coming around, and also not only the moonshot to right field, also had a home run to left field, left center. And I think when Beltran's hitting at his best, he's able to use the whole park.
And don't forget, Trachsel is the winning pitcher. So Steve gets back on the winning side of the ledger, his first victory since the 25th of April. Chris Cotter is standing by downstairs with Carlos Beltran.
All right, thanks, Howie. Carlos, you guys seem to be hitting on all cylinders right now, maybe more so than any other time of the year in terms of offensively.
Well, today we did a great job. You know, we were able to come through in different situations, you know, and we give support to Trachsel, and he was able to go out there and pitch a good game also.
Carlos, do you feel like with all the injuries and everything that maybe you haven't even shown what this offense is capable of doing yet to this point this year?
Well, as a team, we know that we have a real good team, and we're going to be able to come through in different times and different situations. And today, you know, we show it. You know, Carlos came through, I came through, David Wright, and Valentin is also doing a great job. You know, Ray, you know, I think as a team, we know that we can win our division.
Obviously, you go up and down personally throughout the course of the year. You have your streaks, your hot streaks, and your cold streaks. You're on a hot streak right now. Are you just seeing the ball better than you ever have? Maybe just more comfortable in the box?
I just feel good at the plate. I'm healthy, and that's a good thing. I think when you're healthy and you work hard, you go to the cage every single day, good things are going to happen. So I really thank God that I was able to have a real good day today, and we were able to win this one.
4 out of 5 so far in this long road trip. I mean, do you think about that at all? Is that going to your mind, or are you just thinking about the next game?
We think about the next game. You know, we got to take it day by day, and I know that, like I said, you know, we have good pitching staff, and offensively we're doing our job right now. So we're just looking forward to win day by day.
Thanks, Carlos.
Thank you.
All right, Howie.
Keep scoring 7 runs a game, you'll win plenty. That's what the Mets have done on average. 35 runs scored in the first 5 games of this road trip as the Mets win tonight 10-6 as they have won 4 of the first 5 games. Hope you can join us tomorrow night when the Mets play the Diamondbacks. That'll be a 9:30 start here at Chase Field in Phoenix, Arizona. And stay tuned after the game for Sports New York. A lot of Met fans, not quite a full moon, but Steve Trachsel had all kinds of offensive help in this game as the Mets continue to pound opposing pitchers. And so the Mets, with their 3rd straight win, and the Diamondbacks, their 5th consecutive loss, 10-6 the final tonight in Phoenix. For Ron Darling and Chris Cotter, I'm Howie Rose. Now let's join David Lee in our New York studio.